Hello, everybody. Welcome to AintThisTheFun podcast, episode 30, I believe, but it doesn't matter because we're going to talk about... You can hear me, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I want to make sure. I saw the I didn't know. It doesn't matter what number.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter what number it is because it's number one in my heart.
Wow. Yeah.
On this podcast, we talk about things that make us truly happy. We normally give 3 things and then maybe something we're looking forward to. And in this particular episode, we're going to start this off right. It's a very special Christmas edition of this episode where we talk about one thing only that makes me happy, no matter when, why, whatever. Die Hard.
The one that makes Erik happy.
Yeah, well, that's not
Very
the one thing.
happy
There's
for
more
you.
things that make me happy, but Die Hard. I see Childress is wearing his Nakatomi sweater. Show it off. Come on.
Nice.
No, I have a machine gun too. I got my Funko Die Hard.
Nice.
That's actually pretty cute. I like it.
Bloody feet.
I have no Die Hard apparel. I'm very sorry.
No, you just brought Robert Beltran to the party.
I did bring Robert Beltran. to the party.
I didn't even look that
I
up.
decided to sneak
Came
in
to
the
me.
thing that made me happy this week, which is Robert Beltran, who I bought for $20 at a drunkenly bought for $20 at a comic book store last week. So I'm very happy about that.
I'm always at comic book place. You should have said something. I would have got all Chakotay paraphernalia that I saw.
I mean, just any Voyager. It's not Chakotay
Okay.
specific. It's any Voyager.
Okay.
But still.
You seem to have picked Chakotay, though. He's right there.
Well, he's the only one they had.
Okay. All right.
You want to get me the whole cast of Voyager? I will display them behind me as my audience for this podcast.
No, I'm just going to buy you a Catherine Mary Stewart and a Kelly Maroney thing put up next to them. Those are the cast members of Night of the Comet.
We need a
We
Jane.
already established I haven't seen this. Why would
I
you do
know,
that
but
to me?
you're going to now.
We
Well,
need
I'm
a
going to- okay.
we need a Janeway on one side and a 7 of 9 in there, definitely.
Sure.
I mean,
Uh,
come on. What? No Janeway? No.
I love Janeway.
you don't like 7 of 9?
7
7 of 9 is great.
You
But
need
like,
a doctor.
look, listen.
We need a doctor is what we need.
Listen, we're
The
doctor's
doctor
cool
is
too.
the show.
This
The
show is
doctor
good.
the show.
Period. But
We need
again,
Belana Torres. I'd rather have a Belana Torres.
we're focusing here. We're
Hey,
gonna
I thought the point was to talk about things that bring joy. This is what brings me
I'm
joy.
being
Now we're gonna
selfish.
talk about what you bring joy.
I'm being selfish
Brings
this
you joy.
Christmas, and this Christmas this is all about Die
Because
Hard.
they do say Christmas is the time for being selfish.
Like, there's
that's-
probably a
they
Christmas
say that all
episode.
the time.
We're just along for the ride, Morgan.
That's right.
Yes.
So
Right.
here's the deal. I want to
Right.
introduce people who don't know who these people are. Mr. Childress, at least on my screen, he's on the bottom here. He should be there on YouTube
My
as well.
bottom too. He must very much. He's just.
Oh boy. I don't even want to go there. And Morgan is over here to my left. They both do a podcast called The Friendship Dilemma.
I love this cheeky banter.
the-
That's
yes.
exactly where you want to go.
That's
right.
You can get that on iTunes and Spotify, and you can get it on iTunes, right? Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
And
Sure, why not?
Mm-hmm.
And then Childress does his own called the Movie Madness podcast. And since this is movie related, not really friendship related, although there will be a little bit of talk about that at some point in here.
We're gonna
Will
talk
there?
friendship.
Sort of. But again, this you guys want to plug anything else or talk about anything else?
No, we're here
I
for
also do a podcast with my dad.
That's right.
With the Fighting Gire with Gire podcast. We do not promote as often, but our episodes are great, if few and far between.
Twitter handles are up here above me, as long as my screen's working properly. They'll be rotating through here, so if you want to see them on, I put your Instagram, Morgan, and your Twitter, Childress. So
Did
Cool.
you put
They're up here.
The podcast Instagram or my own?
Your
Mine's
own.
Not nearly as good. Aw,
Fire with
no.
Gire 24.
Oh,
I
that
have
one's
that.
good. Yeah, do
Okay,
that one.
that's the one that's up there.
I thought you were putting my personal Instagram out there. I'm like, I don't need people
I don't-
rolling into my DMs on this.
I don't think I have yours. That one.
Okay, good. Let's
Well,
keep it that way.
Whoa,
Wow.
I'm not even invited.
Damn.
You're invited. We'll do that offline. We'll do that offline.
Okay.
So my aunt has already jumped in here and said, not a Christmas movie. So we're going to get to that at some point.
Your aunt?
Yes, my aunt.
Okay. no,
say
we're
say
not
hi.
doing this.
I
What
don't
are
know
we
if she
doing?
wants her name. Just say, hey,
We're gonna
aunt.
make
She'll know.
Christmas.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
For you.
Every year she posts that it's not a Christmas movie, and then some cheeky fun thing
not?
towards me. But we'll talk about that at some
Are
point.
we doing a what makes a Christmas movie?
I'm sure at some point we'll get into that.
Yes.
But
Okay.
in this case, we got to start off from scratch. I know for a fact Childress has seen this, and you the other day texted us back and said, Morgan, I have to do a rewatch. So I'm
I did
assuming
have
you've
to
seen
do a
it.
rewatch. I've seen it several times. It has been a while.
Oh, good.
No, I don't know if it's been a while. I watched it today, part of it today and part of it yesterday.
Oh, okay.
It took some time. It's a long movie. Like, damn, it's a long movie.
We're gonna talk.
Long movie.
We're gonna talk
Kind
about
of.
that too.
But no, I've seen it quite a few times. I just also am very aware that I have not seen it a fraction of the number of times that many men in my generation have seen it, and so I feel a little. Even though I have seen it, I feel a little hesitant to talk too much about it because then it's like, no, that's not what happens. This. No, that's not what happens. This.
I always screw up little minutia. Don't worry about it.
Are you worried about minutia, Morgan? Or are you worried about like pissing off the dude bros?
Oh,
She's never worried about that.
Pissing off the dude, bro.
I don't think you're worried about that, but it's never a pleasant thing for any of us.
I don't want to be factually incorrect when pissing off the dude bros is probably more accurate.
That's fair.
Well, that's why we have Childress here, because I do that stuff all the time, and he's much better at that stuff than me. So
he's gonna actually our whole.
Yes. Well, excuse me, sir.
Actually,
Yeah.
It wasn't him who did that.
So what I
actually done in February. And
I'm just made out to be the bad guy here. Excuse me.
Well, again, bad guy in this movie is also something we'll talk about.
Mm-hmm.
So I figured I'd start out by getting some of the just pure factual stuff out of there, and maybe stuff that Morgan, you may not know. You probably do, but you may not know from all the commentaries and stuff and documentaries and stuff. Have you watched any of that kind of thing?
I watched like half of the Movies That Made Us?
Yeah.
I watched part of it. I did not watch all of it. I have a hard time watching those in general because I feel like it's so exciting to talk about a movie, but then you're not watching the movie, and then I'm like, oh, well, I'll just go watch the movie.
Sure. I get you.
Yeah.
I tried to have the audio commentary on with the subtitled commentary on at the same time. Listen, reading, and watch the movie, and it didn't work. I had to turn the subtitles off.
You have to
It's too
commit to
much.
one or the other.
Yeah.
Like, you either have to commit to a commentary or commit to the movie.
Well, it starts off here. I even made little crib notes and everything just to make sure I was getting this accurate for Childress' sake, so I didn't get corrected.
Okay.
Well, for everybody's sake.
Yeah, are we ready here?
Sure.
This all starts with a book by Roderick Thorpe.
Mm-hmm.
It was called...
Yes.
Yeah. You know him very well. I think he only wrote like 3 books, and 2 of them were related to this. One of them was the...
Is he of the Midwest Thorpes?
Maybe.
The Downton Abbey Thorpes.
There you go.
Downton Abbey Thorpes.
Yes.
It started... I don't know what year that book was published, but it was very quickly turned into a movie by who? Frank Sinatra. It was called The Detective. It was 1968. Oh. His character's name is out of the book, and his character's name is Joe Leland. It's not John McClane. But it is this...
I'm sorry. I'm okay. I wish we had a whiteboard to draw the lines of where you're about the journey you're about to take us on. So I can already tell we're nowhere near the end.
No, it's actually pretty quick as far as linealogy. No, lineage. No, there's another word I was thinking of, but I'll take that one. Frank Sinatra was in it. There's some questionable. His detective investigates the murder. I think it's a New York cop out in San Francisco, or it might be New York clubs. But he's investigating the murder of a person who's gay, and it involves him sort of getting involved and trying to figure out it and immersing himself in this world and lifestyle that he knew nothing of. And again, this is the '60s, so I've never seen The Detective with Frank Sinatra. Have you, Childress?
A long time ago.
I want to guess it didn't quite handle that subject matter 100% great, but at the very least it was showing again, the book was about that, and they were pretty close to the book by doing the movie.
Right.
He has so much fun doing it that he wants to do a sequel, but there's no book written. there's no sequel to The Detective. So he contacts someone over there, contacts Thorpe, and says, I really would like you to write a sequel for this. And it turns out it takes like over a decade, and it takes too long. But here's the genius part. Frank Sinatra somehow had it written in his contract that if there was ever a sequel, he had right of first refusal. It gets more interesting. So here's the deal. Mm-hmm. So all the way into the 80s, Fox still has the rights, along with Clint Eastwood, to make a new Leland movie, a new Thorpe movie, because now a book has been written called Nothing Lasts Forever, about where Leland goes to visit his daughter in a building. Or no, it's actually I think it's the same thing too, but a terrorist organization from an oil company. They're like against the oil company for ruining the place, something along those lines. Okay. And he goes to he's in the building and he goes to save his daughter. It ends very badly for the daughter. She gets dropped out of the building and dies. However,
oh God.
Yes.
They changed that.
Yeah, but
and they were like,
clearly,
what if the bad guy does that instead? Yeah, boom. Okay,
exactly. So they
it's
take this idea, this book that had been written, and they shop it around. They have a couple people do some writes on it over and over. There's a guy they end up giving it to finally. No one wants it. Clint Eastwood doesn't end up doing it. And they give the script to a guy named Jeb Stewart, who was a short story writer. I think he also wrote some books or whatever. And they said, hey, do you think you could make this into a movie? So he tries to do it, says he can't really kind of grasp. He just sort of makes it a terrorist movie. It's nothing really fancy. And then one night he has this big argument with his wife. He leaves the house, and as he's driving away, there's an accident where he felt that he could have died. And when he gets through the accident, he doesn't die in this car crash. He immediately thinks, I almost didn't get to say goodbye to my wife. I was a really horrible person. I should have said I was sorry. Goes back. He immediately goes home, says that to his wife, and says, I have an idea. Starts rewriting the script, makes it about the wife, and that the cop is kind of a jerk, and that if all this stuff happens and he doesn't make it through, he doesn't get to say goodbye to his wife the right way. And he feels horrible about it. He rewrites the script. They shop it around again. Nobody still wants it. Here's the best part, though. It's 1986, 87. They have to go and ask Frank Sinatra if he wants the movie, but he's 80 years old or whatever it was. And even if he wanted to,
he's like, maybe.
Just dangle him around like a puppet.
Yeah.
He can't do it, or he says no, or whatever the situation is. But they had to ask him first and get the no whether anybody else was going to take it or not anyway. He ultimately doesn't do it. So they continue to shop it around. Clint Eastwood ultimately decides he doesn't want to do it, even though he's one of the ones who had the rights to do it. They ask all the biggies. Schwarzenegger, Stallone, James Caan.
That would have been interesting.
Caan would have been good.
Okay with that.
Yeah.
There's
I wouldn't have had a Bruce Willis career, but I would have been okay with it.
A bunch of other tough guys, but majority of them are the well-known major action, the tentpole guys in the mid '80s.
Tentpole guys?
Yeah, tentpole. The ones that stand up the subject matter, the high hook.
I mean,
at the top, tentpole.
Okay.
Well, for action movies, look, they're not doing Shakespeare, but for action movies, you go to Stallone. You went to Schwarzenegger.
Who was in Expendables.
Jean-Claude Van. I don't think Jean-Claude Van. Yeah, almost exactly. Harrison Ford was one of them.
Harrison Ford was one of them. Burt Reynolds.
Yes, Burt Reynolds.
Burt Reynolds.
Yeah.
Sharky's Machine.
Yeah, I mean, he was doing action movies at the time, but a lot of bad ones. Not Sharky's Machine. That's a good one.
Yeah. They all say no. Now they're stuck. And
you can't find an actor.
They can't find an actor at all. And somehow, some way, Bruce Willis's agent finds it at the time. Bruce Willis riding high on moonlighting. It's during season 4.
What's moonlighting?
Oh, don't even get me started. It's amazing. So
I just wanted to add an extra hour to the podcast.
So he's riding high, but everyone loves him as a comedy guy. And remember, he did virtually nothing prior to Moonlighting. He made a couple cameos and things. He was in the Seagram's wine cooler commercials. That was
Blind Date and Sunset.
Movie-wise, he had
That's
just
Midwestern Seagrams.
yeah, he had just started doing movies, and I kind of like Blind Date. Oh yeah, Moonlighting, Carlos. It's amazing.
I don't know if Blind Date. Have you ever seen Blind Date, Morgan?
No.
It's
I
all
don't know
right.
if
It's
I don't know if
fun.
it holds up today as far as like the misogyny.
No, it won't. No,
concerned.
that won't.
Holy shit.
I mean,
No.
this.
But so the movies aren't stellar, so he doesn't have a movie career. But his agent's like, look, they can't get anyone to be in this movie, but for some reason I think you'd be great in it. And he's like, well, I'll have a meeting. And so at this point, they've already kicked Jeb
Someone
Stewart.
needs to give his agent a lot of money.
Oh,
He did fine.
yeah.
That agent is treating his people right.
They had
Changed
kicked
movies.
the what?
It changed movies. I mean, it changed the direction of action movies.
Well,
for
yeah,
Yeah.
we're gonna get into all that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They kicked the original Jeb Stewart. They didn't kick him off. They said it was fine, but they get a director, John McTiernan, who had just done Predator with Joel Silver, who is the producer on this movie, which blew up. No one knew that was going to be as huge as it was, and it was huge. And McTiernan turns the script down like 5 or 6 times. He's like, it's just a terrorist movie. It's dumb. I don't like it. And so finally they said, well, what would you do? And he's like, there should be some joy in it. It's Christmas. We should make it there should be some joy. And so at the same time he's making them do rewrites, they somehow find Bruce Willis, and his agent's like, you should just do this. And he's like, okay, let's have meetings. They get Steven D'Souza. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong.
Stephen E. D'Souza.
Who does a ton of the action movies in the 80s.
Commando, and he wrote one of the scripts for V.
Oh, really?
He wrote V. Yeah.
But yeah, he did Commando and some other stuff. And so one of the guys,
Seen that?
script doctor, they pull this guy in. Hey, touch this stuff up. McTiernan wants some joy. So now you got Joel Silver.
McTiernan wants some joy. Get him some joy.
Seriously. And that's what he did. He's like, he thought he was pretty funny. He liked it. There was some humor in some of the stuff he had done.
Some of the lines that Bruce Willis gets are quite enjoyable. If you could imagine being one of the most quoted movies of all time.
Well,
Yeah, Stephen E. D'Souza also 48 Hours.
That's the big one.
That's the big one.
And so that's where McTiernan was like, this guy could probably give us a little bit of silly, like not silly, but like fun. Like it shouldn't just be this dour terrorist thing. I'm through with that garbage because it was the 80s and that's all it was.
Hmm.
So well, for the most part, action movies in the 80s were mostly just, and so he gets him in there, and the guy they get to do some of the technical stuff is Govia?
Sure.
Govia.
Go with him.
Segovia. You have
Who's
to look
gonna
up.
argue with you.
I have to look up what you're.
He's the technical guy. I think it's Degovia. That's the one name I didn't write down.
Okay.
But he
Jackson Degovia.
Degovia.
Production design.
Here's a fun tidbit about him.
Morgan knows him.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Best friends. Is he
Yeah.
of the Midwestern to go?
No.
He's from Wine Country.
Second cousin to Seagrams.
There you go.
Yeah.
He used to do the technical stuff for the TV show A-Team.
Now we're talking.
Oh gosh.
Yes.
Now we're talking.
So you have this you have this storm brewing, right? You got Joel Silver. They had just done Lethal
This
Weapon,
could've
right?
gone so bad.
Exactly, right? So you got Joel Silver, typical 80s action producer. You have McTiernan, who just got off Predator, who that movie came out of nowhere. And what did he do? Roar or something?
No, Nomads. Roar. Roar's awesome.
John DeBont?
Nomad.
That's John DeBont.
No, Jan de Bont shot.
Roar.
No.
But he didn't.
Isn't that the guy? Didn't he get bit in the back of the head?
That's not. No, not Jan de Bont. Are you thinking of Beast?
No.
That's the new one.
Anyway, you have Joel Silver start this, and then you get McTiernan in there. Then you get Segovia touching up the script. Then the agent gets Bruce Willis because no one else wants to do it. The script isn't even done. And they're like, based off of what we have, we could reduce this down to about 35 pages, start filming what we can, and we'll have D'Souza writing live like a day ahead of shooting. They have the framework, but they don't have all the minutia and all the individual lines. They have some of them, but not all of them. In a way, this was the Iron Man movie before Iron Man. They were ad-libbing, kind of, their way through the filming of this movie. So, again, you think...
It's most action movies, though. This is not
okay.
entirely uncommon.
Yeah, okay, I'll give you that.
Even Mission Impossible, they're figuring out, like, well, the bomb is here, so we got to do here, and they're figuring all that stuff. A lot of that happens a lot.
Okay.
The fact that it doesn't often come off as well as Die Hard, that's
right.
the miracle.
That's the miracle. That's the real Christmas miracle.
That's cinema.
So the movie, it's almost done filming. They start the promotion, and the trailer comes out, and it's in theaters, and they want to go see the audience reaction to the trailers. It's this big deal. They said, we really think this is going to be good. They go and they start watching the trailers. The audiences are laughing during the trailers because Bruce Willis. And they get so scared, they go back to the movie posters and they rip his face off the movie posters.
I did know that part. That was, for a while, it was just a poster of a building.
Of a building.
Because you know what? Nothing says exciting like a poster of a building.
Someone had, just last week, I think, even before you decided to do this show, posted a photo of, the sneak preview ad in the LA Times or something like that, where it's just what you're talking about. It's just the building. This movie will blow you through the back of the theater. But Bruce Willis is really small on it. I saved it. I gotta have to bring it up and send it to you both.
There's a copy, a picture of an article in that The Movies That Made Us, of what I'm assuming is a newspaper, where they wrote an article, or maybe it was a Variety or whatever. Mm-hmm. And they were talking about this new movie Die Hard Fox is betting on people are laughing in the theaters. They put it in the paper how this movie's just going to be horrible. People are laughing at it. That's not what they intended. So they rip his face off. They put the posters up at the building. That's not how I intended that, but
that's a different movie.
Speaking of ripping the face off, Eric, I'm sorry, a bad Childress. You were right. Jan de Bont did shoot Roar. Okay. Morgan, have you ever heard of the movie Roar before?
Why are we talking about it?
Because Jan de Bont shot it, and he's connected to Cameron. It's real.
Great.
Lions.
Sounds lovely.
It's real lions.
Let's go.
Morgan doesn't like it when we digress.
I don't.
Or add clips.
Well, Jan de Bont was in this. He filmed it, so that was a movie.
He shot it.
Notable little fact: he had the back of his head bit off by a lion in the middle of it. They had to. A real lion attacked him while he was filming it.
Sorry. Now I'm interested. What?
See?
Yeah.
See?
Yeah. No. Stop talking about movies. Talk about guys getting bit off.
Well, it was like they took the skin and the hair off. So I guess it's either he wears a wig or some implants, or so they fixed
Let
him.
me just wet Morgan's.
Is this in the middle of filming this?
No. This was the movie. This is why they hired the guy. He was this action movie guy, and
he didn't get it. He got his head bit off while filming the movie Roar. Not during Die Hard.
Got his head bit off.
The back.
During.
Yeah.
The scalp part.
I mean, that's still your head.
Yeah. Well, here's if you don't know what Roar is.
I love that you're like, what was the back part? Don't worry about it. No, the dude got his head bit off by a lion.
Melanie Griffith's dad. Melanie
Griffith's
Griffith's
it was that lion? I know that lion.
It's Bob.
Yeah.
No, I'm serious, because Melanie Griffith grew up with lions.
Yes.
Pet lions.
Yes, and they filmed this movie in Africa, where her dad was the director and he was the star of the movie, and it was just about him living on a lion African preserve. Okay. And at one point he brings his family in, and it's his wife and Tippi Hedren and Melanie Griffith. It was 14 at the time. Yes. And basically the entire movie is about the lions running rampant around this shack and around the area and whatnot. So they have real lions just mauling actors left and right. It's PG. It's wonderful.
On purpose?
Well,
In a
not
way
not
where one of them gets
entirely.
their head bit off.
It's
Well, they weren't. That stuff. Yeah, that stuff wasn't planned.
it's aliens, but with lions.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
after hearing some of the stuff that happened on the Alien set, yeah, that's not a good idea.
Look,
to
I'm writing
introduce
these down.
lions into that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So send Morgan Night of the Comet
No,
and more.
don't know.
Come on.
But that's the guy they
Can I
hired.
just watch the part where the guy got his head bit
Oh
off?
no, he's the
Well,
guy who
he's the
filmed it.
cinematographer.
He's the cinematographer. He's just the guy who's filming it. But
Yeah.
that's
He just actually got attacked by lions.
they came around and got him in the back of the head. Yeah.
They actually have like a disclaimer on the trailer, Morgan, that says like 140 crew member were like mauled and almost died making this movie. You should just watch the trailer for it. It's insane.
That's the guy they
it's amazing.
hired.
Okay, now I'm interested.
That's the
And
guy
then
they
he-
hired to shoot Die Hard.
And then directed Speed and
Yeah.
Twister.
Now, who mauled the back of his head on Die Hard?
Nobody. Nobody's head
Ah.
got mauled.
Hart Bachner.
That's who mauled the back of his head.
Was Ellis, yeah, he was
Oh,
high on coke.
that's
and
right.
by,
He's
out
like,
of young
I think I'm
Yeah.
a lion.
He was like, "Give me that Euro trash." Ugh.
So the movie comes out in 1980.
He says that in the
Called
movie.
Famous
Relax.
cinematographer, Eurotrash.
He says that in the movie.
Yeah.
He says Euro trash.
You did.
I'm referencing.
The movie.
Yeah, but do we really know?
I think we are. Hart Bachner from Supergirl. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So the movie comes out in 1988. After it doesn't open huge. Only 600,000 opening weekend. That's it.
What is
601
that by
something.
today's standards?
Still not
That's the most
much.
important question.
Still not much.
Still not much. How much? You can
600,000.
say one more time.
Well, how many? Wait a minute. How many?
600,000.
I
How
got
many-
that number off of IMDb. I don't know how accurate they are, but they said opening weekend 601,000.
Yeah.
U.S. and
that's
Canada.
correct. But it was only in a handful of theaters too. It's not
Because
like
again, it was not. They thought it was going to be big, and then they got that weird reaction to the trailer, and then it was a weird rollout.
Yeah.
It had such a word of mouth. By 30 days to 45 days, they reissued posters to the theater and put Bruce's face back on the posters and
Go
released
figure.
it wider in more theaters and ended up making $83 million with an opening weekend of $600,000.
That's impressive.
In 21 theaters.
Yeah.
In 21 theaters, and then they went wide the next week. It was never #1 at the box office.
How crazy is that?
Yeah, that's something.
Very crazy. I'm
So
shocked.
some weird trivia.
I have
Bru-
some weird trivia.
Bruce Willis, one of his first acting gigs was as an extra in a movie where he walks out of a bar. And that's all, I guess that's all he does. But as he walks out of a bar, he walks past the main character who was Frank Sinatra. So he walks past his predecessor in this other movie that they're in. I did not
Nice.
write that down. And that's one of his first acting gigs. Alexander Goodenough, who plays one of the bad guys, was in a relationship or something with Bissett. Angela Bissett? Am I saying?
Angela Bassett?
No, Bissett. Bissette.
Angela.
She was in.
Angela Bassett.
No, she was in The Detective with Frank Sinatra.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Jacqueline Bissett.
Jacqueline Bassett.
Jacqueline
yeah.
Bissett.
Yeah, obviously.
She was in a relationship with Alexander Goodenough while he was filming Die Hard. She was in The Detective with Frank Sinatra.
Now, is that the Midwestern Gazette?
Now I
Los
don't.
Angeles.
The guy who plays Ellis,
Mm-hmm.
his name's Hart, right?
Hart Bachner.
Yeah. His
From
father had some association with the detective. I don't know what his father did.
Are you saying he's a nepo baby?
Yeah, right. He's a nepo baby.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, his father had some association with the original The Detective movie. So that's what sets all this up. The movie has now become what it is. I will tell you, I've never sat down. Childress constantly wants me to go on, what's that website? And rate
Letterboxd?
Letterboxd and start making lists.
Everybody wants me to go on Letterboxd too. I don't get it, but still.
Yeah. We like your opinions, and we like to see that broadened
They
out.
are.
It
You should
sounds.
just talk to me.
I'm sure it's lovely, but
I do talk to you.
it sounds like homework.
It sounds like a lot of homework. It does.
Really?
Yeah.
It sounds like
It's
homework.
fun. It's fun making lists.
Yeah, everybody
You know?
loves being crazy analytical about film.
Call me crazy.
but
Hey, I have 2 podcasts. I get it.
I will tell you this though, is that even if I had to sit down and make a list, and I've said this for pretty much forever, and most of it's just me being silly, but truthfully, this is my favorite movie ever. This has got to be number 1, forever. I don't care when it's on, why it's on, what condition is it, 480i. I'll watch it that way. If 4K is great, if 2 minutes left, I'll watch it. Every Christmas. Mrs. Fun and I watch it Christmas Eve usually. It's just, as far as I know, there are things that don't make it technically perfect, but it's just a perfect movie to me. I love it. I love it, love it, love it. I've said it forever, and it doesn't hurt that Bruce Willis is in it, and this was the height of Moonlighting. So you can imagine me at the theater. I loved Moonlighting so much. And then to go to the movie thinking, oh, it's going to be silly, and have it be the best action movie ever made on top of that, with Bruce Willis in it, and him being a smartass still, but not as silly, and him being cool as a action guy. It was just perfect. Yeah, and I love it. So I'm going to do what Childress always does on his podcast, which is, I've now said what I feel about the movie. What do you guys feel about the movie? What do you rate it or consider it?
I'm gonna let Eric go first.
Okay. Well, I love this movie. I mean, it is easily probably top 5 action films of all time. And I remember seeing that trailer on it. It turned into E, but it was called Movie Time at the time, and they used to run like a half-hour trailer show. And when they showed that trailer, like I didn't watch Moonlighting. I knew of Moonlighting, but I didn't watch it. And I knew of, but I saw Blind Date in the theater at the Woodfield 1 and 2, no less. So I was aware of who Bruce Willis was. And when I saw the trailer, I'm just like, well, that's one, it's weird. Bruce Willis is not, what we've come to know in the
funny. What is this?
Yeah, it's
that's what everybody thought.
Yeah, funny. and also the title Die Hard. The only Die Hard I knew was a freaking car battery. So
it's a good point. What is that about?
Years later, he did a Die Hard battery commercial.
Just recently,
of course he did.
Of course he did.
Yeah.
The title, by the way, is Joel Silver's.
Die Hard?
Joel Silver. He didn't like Nothing Lasts Forever, and he's like, just call it Die Hard. And so they did. They changed the script to Die Hard. He liked that title. Hard to kill.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Eric,
oh, just sorry, but no, but and the trailer looked, it did seem dumb. I didn't laugh at it, but it did seem like it could be just a dumb action movie. And then you go see the thing, and like this is something else. And we'll get into it, but the casting of Bruce Willis, it changed. It should have changed it to an even greater stint, but the way that Bruce Willis plays that character, I still consider he could have been nominated for an Oscar. He's that good, and he embodies that character so perfectly. And because he is, you hear about the everyman in movies, what action hero or not, he's an everyman, so we relate to him and whatnot. Here you really do. Here, while he's a smartass because he's from New York, and that's the stereotype, that's what we're following this smartass guy, but he knows he can be killed in every turn. And the two very late scenes, I think, are the definitive moments in the movie. One is where he has the heart-to-heart over the walkie with Al Powell, saying, "Please say goodbye to my wife if I don't make it out of here." And the moment he's on the roof, and he's talking to himself like, "Oh, John, what the fuck are you doing?" And he's tying the thing around his waist and whatnot. And then he gets up there, and that's just that perfect moment. He goes, "Please, God, don't let me die." That, to me, that's the movie. That is the movie right there. And then a lot of stuff blows up, and it's awesome. but that moment, I remember like gasping in the theater. It's perfectly edited. The editing in this movie is just about perfect. Just about perfect.
We're going to talk about that at one point.
Yeah.
At one point, eventually.
Eventually. But Morgan, I'm sure your dad, has probably told the story multiple times of the first time that Chicago critics saw Die Hard back in 1988.
You have a very interesting understanding of what my father and I talk about on a regular basis.
I don't know.
Let me tell you about the time I saw Die Hard. Every Christmas, he actually sits us down by a log fire and talks about the first time he watched Die Hard.
Making s'mores.
Yeah,
making s'mores.
Let me tell you about this
tradition.
Time. It is.
So tell me more about the Chicago Film Critics scene.
Wait, so he's never told this?
No, why would he tell me this story?
Well, so because well, here's the deal. And I didn't
many stories. I do know
sure.
that. You know what story you told me? You told me about meeting Macaulay Culkin on the set of Home Alone. That was something I gave a shit about as a kid. This he didn't tell me.
Certainly. Well, I didn't expect him to tell you this when you were 1. I expected him at some point over the years you might have heard this story. And your dad was not the only one to tell it. I've heard it also from our friend Sergio. That
obviously
the first time
my dad than I am, so just continue.
Really, is that the truth?
No.
I'm sorry. But the first time that they screened the movie in Chicago for critics, it had no special effects. It had limited sound effects. So literally some of the gun sounds were pop, 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 pop.
Why?
Because they were screening it early.
Because,
I'll explain
the plot
that.
is really what holds it together.
Yeah, right.
I'll explain that.
But, and then as the way your dad tells it, he said, even with all of that missing, it was still one of the most amazing action films they had ever seen. But it was crazy. Like they're like, I can't remember. I think there was like some green screen stuff, even like when Hans falls off the building.
You could see the pad he falls into and everything, and they didn't have any of the plating done for the special effects.
Which is really crazy. I mean, I've been to a couple work in progress screenings where they had like temp music tracks and things like that. Very rare, but that is nuts. You think of how crazy, like nowadays, like James Cameron would ever allow anyone to see Avatar in any unfinished portion.
James Cameron.
Yes. Well, he didn't want people to fall asleep during The Way of Water. So
that's its own thing.
Stupid fucking movie.
Take it back and release his director's edition. That's 5 hours next year.
Oh, God help us all.
So what did you think about it, Morgan?
When did you first see it?
I don't know.
Okay.
I had that thought. I was like, usually I remember movies from the first time I've seen, especially if they're particularly, and I'm like, I have no idea when I saw this movie. I have no idea. I know I've seen it multiple times. I know I've caught it on TV back when, TV was a thing. When you were just flipping through channels, like, oh, Die Hard's on. Okay, I'll watch that. And I guess that's okay. So I've been thinking about this since being asked to come on this podcast, and here's what I've got. I get that Die Hard's an amazing movie. I get that it's a very good movie. It's a great action movie. I think that the performances are particularly wonderful. I know this is one of the first few times we have seen Alan Rickman, and Alan Rickman is a god amongst mortals.
The first time.
I know. I just wasn't 100% sure on that, and I didn't want anyone jumping down my throat, so I'm so glad you both took care of that for me when I said it. So good job. So I get it. I mean, anytime, the first time, everyone remembers the first time they saw Alan Rickman.
True.
Which makes sense to me. It's a great movie. That makes sense to me. It is an action film. I like action films. I like good action films, at least, and I get it. I get that it's a Christmas movie. I'm all on board with it being called a Christmas movie. I don't know why people don't consider it a Christmas movie. I don't know why people have such high standards for what is considered a Christmas movie. Like, come on, let's all experience some joy here. I don't get the obsession.
Okay.
I get that it's a great movie. I get that it deserves accolades. I don't get this like generational obsession with this is the best movie of all time. This, I have to watch it a million times. I'm going to know every single line. I don't get that degree of quote unquote perfection. Because to me, and I like it, it's a great film, especially given the back history of how it was made. But I can see it. As a person who analyzes film, I can see the bits and pieces that get added that you're like, wait a minute, why is that even in there? Like, I still, and again, I didn't get to get through my full rewatch. Apologies in advance. Don't you shake it. Don't even. I still don't get the whole Argyle thing. Like, he's just in the basement the whole time? Is that serving us?
Yeah.
When?
Yeah.
How?
Argyle's...
Remind me.
Well, he went. I mean, we're watching the movie. He's there for a purpose. He's waiting for John if he strikes out or whatever.
No, but what's the purpose for the movie?
Comic relief.
Oh yeah, that's what you're missing in this. Like,
you only have one element of comic relief.
I think unnecessary elements of comic relief. When it's not even like, usually the comic relief is that one guy in the scenes with the group, and he brings the comic relief, and then you get back to the serious stuff. This guy's just sitting by himself in a basement. Like, why is he even there?
Here's a perfect segue then. So we'll go right into the beginning of the movie, and that is Argyle, because we see a plane land. We see.
No, the beginning of the movie is the guy on the plane.
Well, yeah, the plane land, him talking to the dude on the plane establishes he's a cop. Don't worry, I've been doing it for, 11 years?
Yes.
Yeah. And
yeah, that guy was doing it for 8 years.
You make fists with your toes, the whole deal, right?
Which is genius. That is the one thing that I remember my dad talking about, is like the whole thing about him not wearing shoes. That's actually genius. Like that.
That's your dad told you.
Oh yeah.
It was the important part. But yeah, so he gets off the plane. You tell you already tell he's kind of a, he's not a happy-go-lucky guy. He's just sort of matter of fact. Yeah, don't worry, I've been, kind of has a little bit of smart ass in him. Don't worry, I've been doing it for 11. Whatever. Gets off the plane, has his teddy bear. He's going somewhere.
Gets off the plane with his gun.
Yeah, he has his gun on the plane.
That he just has, there.
Yeah,
he's a cop. Carries gun on plane, 1988.
But right away you hear, and one of the first few noises you hear, other than a couple people speaking, is sleigh bells. It immediately establishes that it's in December, but because you're in California, you wouldn't have normally noticed that. So the sleigh bells are your first indication of the time that this is happening. It happens in general with that music. But one of the things in the original script was when he got off the plane, you were supposed to see palm trees with Christmas lights on them. And they're like, take that out. But regardless, and this goes back to what Childress was saying, one of the things McTiernan wanted, and he said one of the things that made him finally say yes was he didn't want it to be Terrorist movie. He didn't want it to be typical action guy movie. You wanted to know this guy was a good dude. And one of the first things he does is he goes up to Argyle, and when they get in the limo, where does he sit?
In the front.
He doesn't want to sit in the back seat. He's just like you and me. He's not fancy.
Regular guy.
Yeah. He's just a normal guy.
And then when Argyle drops him off, he goes home and takes care of another commission.
No, he said, because he says, he goes, here's what I'll do. Here's my card. I'll go wait in the basement, and if you strike out with your lady, you call me and I'll come get you. Otherwise, I'll hang out here. That's what he says. And he goes in the basement and does that. Yeah, so that's...
Why?
Because he likes him. He likes the dude.
Contention.
I don't, but we just keep jumping back to him. He doesn't serve the plot any purpose.
No, it's just it's a framing device. He's there, and then he leaves with him. He takes him home. That's it.
It's a reminder that there's a full threat in the entire building, that he's trapped in there as well. That is it's not something that McClane is thinking about, but he's there as another civilian trapped in this mess. And it's played for laughs mostly, but it's just another guy.
What else would it be played with other than laughs?
We could have just been a limo driver. It could have been very boring, and he got his ride to the building, and that was it.
I have no problem with him being a character. I have no problem with his interaction. It's the fact that he's still there.
He was just being a cool dude.
Yeah, and he gets locked in.
He's just being a nice dude. Hey, man, I'll help you out. I'll help you out. If you strike out with your lady.
Nice people, Morgan.
It's more that, to me, it reads as like just, you talk about how it's so succinctly cut. It's so succinctly, put together.
Yeah.
But to me, it doesn't read like that. It still reads like there's just little bits of things that they thought they might have come in later, but that it never came to fruition, and so then they're just there.
Well, I don't. Well, you said you didn't finish your rewatch. Do you remember what happens at the end with Argyle?
No, tell me, because
we'll get to that. That there is a payoff.
to back up what you're saying though, Morgan, you aren't the only one to think that way. Not so much about Argyle, but Roger Ebert only gave the movie 2 stars.
He did not like it.
He did not like it. Cisco liked it a little bit more.
For me, 2 stars is a fine movie.
I know. Our star ratings are so skewed. Yeah, 2 stars to her is like, not bad.
That's fine.
2 out of 4 or 2 out of 5, Childress?
2 out of 4.
2 out of 4. Yeah, and he does 2 out of 5, and 3.
Oh, if he does 2 out of 5, then yeah, it's not. He doesn't like it so much.
Yeah, 2 out of 5 is not as good as 2 out of 4, but 2 out of 4 is not as good as 3 out of 4, which is what Siskel gave the movie. But Ebert's, one of his big things about the movie was he didn't like the Paul Gleason character.
Which one's Paul Gleason?
The chief.
News
The
reporter.
OA.
Oh,
yeah.
I hate that too. I'm not gonna lie. I was watching it, and I'm just like, he is too dumb. Like, I get what you're trying to say. I get the commentary you're trying to go for here, but it's too. They took it too far. They needed it at like a 6. They took it to an 8.
We'll talk about that. That is McTiernan and D'Souza doing that, and there was a purpose for that in general, but we'll get to that part.
See, I think that all of these things that you think either slow down or are unnecessary, I think add a greater level of depth to the entire movie. That there's it makes it a little more epic. There's a more sprawling sense of all these people that have to be involved, either trapped in the nonsense or trying to solve it. And you need, I mean, you have that balance. You have Al there, who is the level-headed one, the beat cop, who has the ear of the guy inside.
Actually, not a beat cop. He's a desk cop.
I'm sorry, he's a desk cop. Yes.
He just happens to be answering calls and out on patrol.
Right.
Again, I call it a perfect movie, but there's...
That's exactly what he said.
Yeah. There's some insight there. You have some insight.
I did love one part I did love that I did want to, before we got too far away from Argyle in the beginning of the movie, one thing that I thought was so perfectly reflective of what is Die Hard then, what is Die Hard now, and the argument of it being a Christmas movie is that part where they're in the car and he goes, put on some Christmas music. He goes, this is Christmas music.
And Run DMC.
I was like, that is the cyclical nature of that is just chef's kiss moment for that movie.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's something that was intended. Not that no one
knew that they would be arguing about the fact
right.
of this being a Christmas movie.
Right.
What, 50 years after it was put out?
Argyle, by the way, will always be the guy.
Do you know this, Morgan?
What?
Do you know what other movie Argyle was in? The actor that played Argyle.
I did have his entire filmography up just about 5 minutes ago.
It's fun trivia. It's really not that important. It's fun trivia.
Yeah.
Go for it.
But the reason I know it, like, I knew it
Erik say it.
Yeah. Because it's trivia. Because I knew it when Die Hard came out, because I weirdly enough recognized his name in the opening credits.
It's distinctive.
What is his name?
Yeah, Devereaux White.
Okay.
And the reason he'll always be the guy in the Blues Brothers, the kid who is trying to steal the guitar from Ray Charles's music shop.
Yep.
Yeah, and
that's Argyle.
Gun at him. That's Argyle. And the reason I knew, because I love Blues Brothers, I read the credits all the time, and Devereaux White, like, that's an interesting name. And then there it was in Die Hard, and I'm like, that's the kid who tried to steal Ray Charles's guitar.
You just really wanted to get me in trouble today, didn't you?
No, I'd never do that.
Oh,
I don't like the Blues Brothers.
All right, don't say it. I don't want to hear that either. All right, so
we are doing this in Chicago, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm aware.
Yeah.
Anyway, he goes in the bill. So you establish that he's there. You establish he's there for a Christmas party. You establish he's had some problems with his wife. Argyle even calls him. Argyle even calls him out on it. Like, you thought you had it right.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, and he's like, well, like, he even knows, like, you're the one who screwed up. You're basically coming out here to do whatever, maybe fix it or whatever. And so that's kind of cool. He calls him out. So already you're now getting two. Not only is he Joe Average guy, like, I don't want to sit in the back. I'll sit with you. He even says, like, I thought I was doing the right thing. Like, so he kind of is already admitting he kind of screws things up.
Fuck up.
Yeah, sometimes.
Huh.
And
Sorry,
so
I don't know if I'm allowed to say the F word on
you're fine.
podcast.
Yeah, you're fine. Most action movies already, when you think about it, all the cool action guys for the most part, know that they're good. Know that they're going to kick everybody's ass. You assume when you watch that movie, right from the beginning, they're all going to, for the most part, survive, beat the bad guy. They're super confident. They know everything they're going to do. This guy's already isn't super cool. Joe Average and is admitting he's screwing things up with his wife. What other action movie I can't think of another action movie that starts out that way. Like, it's just a guy in a limo talking about his wife being, he's an idiot. So,
I mean, I'm sure I can think of one now. Probably not at the time.
like, well, again, this movie changed a lot of things.
Changed the world.
So they get in the building. You see it's the California party, and you meet Takagi.
The man kisses him on the teeth. That's how you know it's a California party.
Right.
Oh, that was a little awkward. And I know I don't know what the world was like in the 80s, where it was just like, oh god.
Yeah. They panic set in from John McClane.
But when you think about it, he didn't super recoil or make some horrible. He more than anything laughs that off. He even kind of has a smirk, like funny, like, oh, California, like.
Yeah.
Again, a lot of nowadays maybe that would be a little bit better, but back then, a lot of movies didn't care to cater to that at all. Yeah. They would not have shown that in a nice light at all. He sort of just lets it go. Yeah. You get in there and you immediately see before you even get in there, you realize she's using her maiden name. Yep. She's got her own office.
Great touch.
And I love that that's a plot point. I love that is feeding into the whole story. Like, it's very tight in that regard.
Yeah.
Yeah. You immediately...
Considering it's a movie that was thrown together randomly.
Yeah.
True.
Well, when you meet...
Miracle.
When you meet Miss Gennaro, what did you think of Bonnie Bedelia, Morgan? Like, as a character, you immediately meet her, and she's head of the company. She's in charge. Like, what did you... You
just wanted to give me that, didn't you?
No, I mean, because... Again, Eric and I have talked about this movie 9 million times. So
it's a geniusly, wonderfully feministic move that they don't call attention to, which is lovely. She's leading. She's a person of high power. Nobody ever questions her. Nobody ever thinks about, oh, well, you shouldn't be leading a company. She doesn't get any sexist things said to her. Right. Nobody ever denies or thinks that she could do any less. So that is quite wonderful to be seen, especially in this kind of movie. But one thing I do love particularly, one thing I do remember about seeing Die Hard is I definitely saw it after the TV show Parenthood came out.
Okay.
And the only reason I remember that is because Bonnie Bedelia was on the TV show Parenthood as the mom.
Yep.
She's the main matron of the family. And my father was so excited she was on that show. My father was just like, oh gosh, Bonnie Bedelia's on the show. Oh, Bonnie Bedelia. And I was like, who the hell's Bonnie Bedelia? I have no frame of reference. And so then I saw Die Hard and I was like, oh, Bonnie Bedelia. Okay, I get it. I get the appeal. Fine. Finally.
Heart Like a Wheel, another good Bonnie Bedelia movie.
Okay, fine. Add it to the list, Eric.
Presumed Innocent. She's also in Presumed Innocent with Harrison Ford.
The reason she's in the movie is because once they did finally cast Bruce Willis, they were like, all right, we have some of these actresses. We were thinking about this one and this one and this one. And he's like, saw this actress in this play. Her name is Bonnie Bedelia. She's a really good actress. You should put her in the movie. That was it. There's all right, cool. And they just hired her because he liked her in a play.
She's gorgeous.
And they put her in, and she's great.
She's great. She's so great. So confident, so magnanimous. Like, she owns it. And I know that, like everybody gives a lot of credit. It's fascinating to me in the 80s, the number of just extremely strong female characters that get brought up that barely even get the light of day. Like, for example, and I'm so ticked I didn't mention this when we did the Aliens podcast. I think about, like, Vasquez in Aliens, who's a very strong female character that you would not have seen prior to the 80s. Who comes out there and just by being the essence of who she is, brings attention to strong women. Bonnie Bedelia comes out, she's this character, and just being in existence, existing in this space isn't enough itself a accolade towards strong women.
How great is she later, too? They orchestrate to get the two of them in a room together. They don't want it to just be at the end, obviously. They orchestrate to get her in the room together with Gruber. And she's so forceful, so confident, so sure of herself. She gets Hans Gruber to defer to her, and he's actually like, you know what, you're right. The asshole that Hans Gruber is actually has a moment of, I don't even know if I want to say empathy. He was like, no.
Not empathy, but just like, you got a good point. Everyone's
That
going to
woman
be
was
bathroom
correct. I don't need to take the credit for whatever she just said. Right,
yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's what to follow.
And then her punch and what's his face at the end.
Atherton.
Well, I was gonna ask you about that too, Morgan. But to follow what you were saying, it's great. But her character, like you sometimes you see strong female characters, even wife characters in movies that do have a point of view, and they're very well written. And then
I hate that it's sometimes. Sometimes female characters are written well.
I know. I'm just speaking facts. I'm not speaking the way it should be.
Believe me, I know. I just wish we could keep that up as in good movies or the standard.
Right. She's not diminished.
No.
In the movie, like
never. She's never diminished in the movie.
Even when
it would be so easy. So easy to diminish her in this movie.
Yeah.
It would be so easy to damsel in distress it, have him saving her, come in at the final hour. You could easily play that off, and that's never what we see.
Well, the kind of does happen.
Well, we'll get to that, but she takes part in that ending.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, that's what's great about that, too.
They're partners.
Yep.
They're partners who leave it.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I don't care how strong you are, man, woman, whatever, child. I mean, when you're in that point at the end of the movie where he's got the gun and he just grabs her and like, okay, you're coming with us. There's only so many things anyone can do at that point. So I don't really. That's not a point.
That's not a diminishing. It's not. She's a hostage.
See in my mind's eye that situation, but instead it's Erik being taken away by Hans Gruber. It's very entertaining in here.
Really? You have to go there? Really? Yeah. Let's play this out. Why don't we just play this out? So what happens to me when Hans Gruber takes me?
You forget I didn't watch the end of the movie.
Oh God.
But this is your movie.
I have watched
this is your movie where Erik gets kidnapped by.
No, it's just it's a whole thing of just.
Does your friend Erik survive?
I'm taking you, and then Erik's like,
Really, I do that.
Yeah.
I do that. Really?
She's diminishing you now.
She is diminishing me.
Yeah.
That's really nice. Yeah, this is great. That's what I come here for.
Sorry.
That's okay. But they set up the building.
That's okay. Erik doesn't say that's okay. You're like, oh, it's fine.
That's fine.
Don't worry about it. Moving on.
Yeah, it's his podcast. You just want to get into this drama.
The thing though is they set up that party room, the main foyer of that office, which everything. Octopus is out from there. Everything has it's a good place. They keep coming back throughout the movie to that part of the building, and it gives you a great geographical, like a map of where you are at any given time in that movie. Where is everybody? Especially where is he? Once they tell you what floor that room is on, once he goes up a set of stairs or down a set of stairs or which room he's in or comes out the elevator or whatever, you kind of know where everybody's at. And that room is so distinctive. One of the reasons is they modeled it after Frank Lloyd Wright.
Oh, yeah.
It's called High Water or Water something. That rock they built is a replica of the Frank Lloyd Wright built of a house or a building that he made. That foyer is
in Illinois. You need to
Falling Waters. Falling Waters. Yes.
The Illinois rights.
Yeah, the Illinois rights.
The Midwestern rights.
Yeah.
That is in fact the Midwestern Lloyd rights.
It's not from the house where he stole the woman from the other guy and then ran off with her and built the house for her. That's not that house. It's the one here in Illinois. But it's a replica, but it's so distinctive with the water and where the party was and where all the people are. It's a great focal point, and you get that established right away, and then the bad guys are introduced not too long after that, and as the trucks come in, the music starts to change. It's no longer Christmas music. It's no longer happy. that music, again with the sleigh bells, but ominous, kicks in and the trucks enter the building. And another little funny part that they made is the logo, Pacific Courier, that's on the one truck. He puts that in a couple other movies. One of them is Speed, and there's another one it's in. But the reason it says Pacific...
Now, if you want to talk about Speed, we can...
Yeah.
We're not digressing here, Mark.
Okay, fine.
One of the reasons he named it Pacific Courier is because that means messenger of peace. Yeah, and made that logo so that... And now he uses it on occasion and puts it on stuff in movies because it's fun. It's silly. They're obviously not there for peaceful stuff. But anyway.
Speed, also one of the greatest action movies ever made. Just throwing it out there.
I was about to say that. I was like, where
That's a
does
good movie.
rank with Die Hard?
Very, very high. Well, there is no Speed without Die Hard.
Oh, I thought you were saying Heat, but also Speed.
Heat's fantastic too.
See, now,
great, too.
Speed is the movie I grew up with that watched a million times. So
Yeah, and it's magnificent.
it's magnificent.
Yeah.
So they introduce the bad guys. You get the trucks in there. They open the back door, and all the guys come out. But the big one, we already kind of talked about a little bit, Rickman. How amazing is that introduction to one of the best bad guys ever in all of movies?
I think you mean one of the best actors of all time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
No.
Yes. So?
It's good.
Okay. But did you notice?
So good.
Did you notice anything about them in comparison to other bad guys in other movies?
They aren't Alan Rickman.
Well, the other movies, but this group of bad guys, especially Rickman leading them, coming out of there, do they look different? Are they your prototypical bad guys in action movies?
I mean, they are all ballerinas, right?
No, just Alexander Goodenough.
Alexander.
Just Goodenough.
Yeah.
I thought a whole bunch of them were because they all look like they should be ballerinas, but that's its own thing.
Okay, you're on to something.
Are we talking about the racial diversity of the bad guys? Because I'm impressed by that.
Well, okay, there's that too.
They've got what's his
absolutely
face,
that.
who is also in Big Trouble in Little China, who I love very much.
Al Leong.
Yeah.
Yes. I don't know names.
That's why I'm here.
What they wanted to do is they didn't want to make them the typical bad guys. So they're all dressed in very nice clothes. And they all have this sort of almost aristocratic Eastern or Middle European
Almost
appeal.
Like ballerinas.
Yeah. Funny part is none of them are German. Goodenough is what is he, Russian? And Rickman's English, and Leong is
supposed to be German?
Well, the core group, Carl and Hans and all that. The core group is supposed to be German, but Carl's brother.
Carl's weak ass brother.
Carl's weak ass brother who died.
Shanked real early.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Mr. You want to talk about dressing nice? This fuckhead shows up with the sweatpants.
The thing though is, if you notice, he
looks like he's in like an '80s workout video.
Like a physical, he should be in the physical of the Newton-John video.
Let's get
or that Diana Ross video.
Well, if he was wearing anything else, they wouldn't have been able to write the "Now I have a machine gun."
Right, exactly. So that's everything is there for a reason. Yeah. But he dies pretty poorly too. I mean,
he does die poorly. Like basically, he just accidentally falls down the stairs.
It's a good
look,
fight though.
You killed that guy. Good job.
Oh, definitely a good fight. Definitely a good fight. And again, that sequence again, it's the first sort of moment in the movie where you recognize that McClane is a different breed of action hero, because the first thing he does because he sees Takagi get killed.
Well, yeah, let's go back. Hurry up. Wait, I'm sorry, real quick.
Hurry up.
Let's talk about Takagi getting killed.
Yeah.
He outs him. He takes him up there. And that scene where he tries to get that password out of him is fantastically edited. It's tense. You really don't think he's going to do it. I didn't initially. And then it happens.
Trailer, it's in the trailer.
Oh, that's right. It is.
Yeah.
I still probably didn't think it. I don't know if I saw the trailer.
The way he does it, because he's giving him all this knowledge about, clothes and, like, oh, look at this model. I used to do this as a boy. And, and then he gives him every chance. And then as the minute he says, it's a really nice suit, Mr. Takagi, I'm like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
Doesn't want to stay in it.
Shit.
You don't want to stain that suit.
It's in one of the trailers. I don't think it's in both.
It's in the primary one.
Because there's the one that's just Christmas themed. There's that trailer, and I don't know if it's in that one.
I don't remember that, but in the primary trailer, it's in there.
All right, so here's my question.
Yeah.
Who do you think works harder to make this a genius film? The character of Hans Gruber, played by Alan Rickman, or the character of John McClane, played by Bruce Willis?
Even. It's even. It's even.
It's a yin and yang kind of thing, because they're both different breeds of the typical characters that we come to know. No, it's fine.
Plays into it more.
It's your opinion.
Well, if you're gonna, of course. I mean, but it's not a bad answer.
I love Bruce Willis; it's amazing. But honestly, I think you're right. I think the actions of Hans Gruber are really, and the kind of villain he is what makes this movie so interesting. I think that you would still have an amazing film if you if you had someone, I don't know,
Schwarzenegger.
I hate to say it. If you had a deadpan Keanu Reeves as John McClane, this movie is still as elevated as it would have been.
I don't think so. No way.
Yeah.
Willis makes that movie with Rickman. I think they together is the ingredients. Okay. If you don't have someone as strong as Rickman being that bad guy, you don't. If you notice, he doesn't even kill anybody, except for Takagi.
No, he kills Ellis.
Yeah, he does kill Ellis.
Not on screen.
Well, not on screen.
He doesn't kill them in the group to like show his use of force. Like he doesn't come in and just start slaughtering people or a bunch. Yeah. When he threatens, he's like, "You want to do this? You want more people to die?" He runs out and does warning shots. He doesn't even kill anybody.
Oh.
But what I'm saying is, like, he's a real big bad guy. But
he knows
even when he kills
pressure and where.
Even when he kills Takagi, it's upstairs. He doesn't even use it to show that as a threat to the other people in the building.
I love that he almost didn't tell them that he was dead. He was like, "Mr. Takagi will not be joining us
for the rest
of his life."
The delivery of that is just while he's eating, it's wonderful.
Again, Alan Rickman.
Yeah,
again, Morgan. In your rewatch, did you get? I'm sorry, Eric, we're jumping around here.
No, that's fine.
Did you get up to the scene where McClane and Hans meet? Okay. And that scene, again, unbelievable. It is so
Alan Rickman.
Yes. I'm a little more with Eric on this because
it's a both.
I think that because if you take Willis out, I
don't think Willis is bad. Willis helped to make the movie, and certainly the movie helped to make Willis.
Well, yes,
changed everything for him,
right? But I think
Alan Rickman is what is your key that makes this what it is.
But here's where I argue with you that if you say if it was a Stallone or
how about Kevin Costner? What happens if you put Kevin Costner?
I like Kevin Costner, and he would not have been good in this movie.
No, he would not have been good in this movie.
He's not good in movies.
Stop it.
Here we go. What's our trivia? Next trivia? Oh, it's the.
This time it is. I just came back from New Zealand. I just came back from Scotland, where I got to see the hotel that Kevin Costner got kicked out of for being an asshole.
That's the entire trivia name.
That's our name of our trivia team.
Trivia team. Yeah.
It seems like a little bit long, but sure. But
my favorite though was if Kevin Costner acts in the woods and no one is there to see him, is he still a bad actor?
Stop it.
Yeah, we had that read loud at the last trivia thing.
Bull Durham, top 10 ever.
Bull Durham is your one. Is the
top 10? There's others. There's
the
others.
Breaking of the rules. That's the only one.
Field of Dreams.
No, that's not. That's it.
Okay.
Anyway,
here's what I was saying.
Yes.
So
that if you had any other actor in the Bruce Willis part, okay, you would have a really good action movie with one of the best villains of all time. Nothing is going to change the fact that Rickman is one of the best villains of all time.
Yes.
Without Bruce Willis, I don't think that this becomes one of the best action movies of all time.
Nope.
But it's the two of them.
Yep.
It's not just, if you took Rickman out of the movie and it was just Bruce Willis, I think the same thing happens, that it's a really good action movie, but not one of the best ever. The two of them together because of the dynamic and because of the difference that they brought to those characters, whether it's how they were written, how they're performed, is what makes this, I think, one of the all-timers.
So, Eric, I hate to be this person.
No, you don't.
No, I was just going to say the same thing. No, you don't.
But you just kind of painted yourself into a hole there.
Okay.
Because if you take out John McClane, you have one of the best villains of all time.
Mm-hmm.
You take out Hans Gruber, you don't have one of the best action films of all time. You pointed out
there's film
his performance versus Willis's just the action movie.
No.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
I think technically your wording said that, but it's 50-50. If you put anybody else in this, I just don't see them because of the everyman smartass. I don't think anybody would have played it nearly as well as Willis did. Nobody else could have done it the way he did it. And without him,
nobody else would have done it the way he did it. But I also will
perfect.
say, and I don't know if it's that it's been played a million times and so many people quote it. Just watching that movie, there are just some of those like call out lines seem worn, seem inauthentic. But I think part of that is because this movie's been around as long as it has. And so many men have been quoting it for so long that it's like, oh yeah, he's going to say that thing.
I'll give you that.
Yeah, he's going to say that thing.
But again, when you...
That's more true of the sequels, though, too. I mean,
True.
when you start bringing back Yippee-Ki-Yay and all that, I mean...
Yippee-Ki-Yay, welcome to the party, pal. Come out to the East Coast, we'll have some laughs. Like, these are things I hear all the time.
Yeah.
You hear real... Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know about
well, that can get annoying, but again, not the movie's fault.
Right.
I know, but what I'm saying is that maybe if I were seeing this from an 1988 eyes of a new film that hadn't already been quoted at me a million times, I might have a more of appreciation
for
Wilson's performance.
Yes, fair enough.
And there's nothing like being a Rickman stan, because he's great.
He's the best.
But yeah, you establish him as this bad guy who's not hands-on. He's wearing probably a $2,000 suit. And he has a tiny little Walther PPK like James Bond. He's a tiny little gun. He's not there sporting giant hardware to throw, you know.
Yeah. And
he's
like, get me my detonation.
Yeah, he's not.
Demanding.
He's
like
not doing it.
And he's funny.
Yeah.
He's funny when he's negotiating the terrorist on the phone. I read about him in Time magazine. That's a huge laugh in the crowd. It's a huge laugh.
Oh my god! The moment he does his American accent, you're just like, "Hey."
Well, you laugh. I'm like, you son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Oh no! I just thought, it's the way he does his American accent.
Oh.
Yeah. Like, oh, you're one of them.
Oh God, no!
You should be on TV with an accent like that.
Yeah, the first time I saw it, I'm like, you motherfucker.
You think he's gonna get away with it? Yeah, we'll get to that. So,
will we?
Yeah, we will. Well, so you've established he's not your typical bad guy.
Yes.
Your time and place, all hell breaks loose. The terrorists are doing it. They kill Takagi, and now he's on the run. From that point till Gruber hits the ground is non-stop action.
Except for when we cut away to Argyle.
For a half a second.
And the police chief.
Yeah, but it's him setting up the SWAT team. It's the SWAT team advancing on the building, and they're turning on the lights. Al Powell getting shot at. Him in a gunfight while Al Powell's talking to the guard, Huey Lewis, in the basement. The whole thing. Yeah.
I know. I was like, that's Huey Lewis. I had a feeling. I was like, wow, that guy looks like Huey Lewis.
Yeah.
It's not, but it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one part that I did stick out to me a little bit again, with the whole pieces coming together, knowing the craziness that went into this movie. Part I find so interesting is the cut from like Al Powell, like when he's like, Nakatomi Tower, and he looks over at Nakatomi Tower, and it's nice, it's peaceful. And then it cuts to multiple machine guns going off outside. And I'm sitting here just like, who the hell is not hearing multiple machine guns going off?
It's very high.
He is very far away, but if you look at the top of the building,
He's far away, but like there are humans somewhere around this building.
Not really. Though, when you see when the Argyle pulls up at the beginning of the movie, there's no one around. I mean, that's a kind of an isolated building. But Eric, go what you were saying because
Yeah.
Go on.
Which, by the way, coincidentally, for those who don't know, Nakatomi Plaza is the Fox building in Century City. It's the Fox Pictures building. I don't think it still is. I think they lease it out or something now. But you have your DVD set, or Blu-ray set.
That's the same one that we have at our house.
Yeah, the top.
I couldn't find the movies.
All the middle floors were complete, and they had like lawyers and stuff in there. But the top 5 or 6 floors were still under construction, and they gave them access to the entrance. That was it.
Yeah.
So when they were firing those guns on the roof, they were doing it sometimes during the day, and people got so pissed, like the lawyers and stuff inside the building, they were like, "Stop it." They only could film gunfire shots after 5 p.m. for the rest of the shoot because the lawyers got so angry.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I will say,
real quick, when Powell gets 8 Leakin' 30 is his call sign, when he looks down the street and he looks up at the building, you can see little white flashes going off on the roof.
Yeah.
From the gunfire. So when they cut back,
yeah.
Yes, they did. They put the little white flashes up on the roof.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
I've gone back and forth. Sorry, Morgan. I've go on.
But that was pretty much it. But it's just I was talking about the non-stopness of it. Yes, they cut away to certain things to establish it, but the second they cut back to him, he's on the run for that whole rest of the movie, non-stop. And every time they show him, he's running up a staircase, down a staircase, through a room, over to this thing, up on the roof, back down the elevator shaft. He's playing cat and mouse, but for the first time, shy of maybe Predator, he's the mouse. They're hunting him down. He's taking them out, but he's, I'm sure Eric will find other movies that I can't think of right off the top of my head, but Predator being one, and once they're all dead, it's him versus the Predator, and the Predator's hunting him. But like, as far as action movies go, I think that he's not super strong dude.
He's not the one in control
at all. He's scared. He's an action hero who's freaking the fuck out. He is scared of what might happen to him.
Right.
Actually, it's really endearing.
Yeah.
So before we get too far away from Nakatomi and the Fox building, do you know what other amazing hostage film has also been filmed in that building?
I did not know that. What?
Hostage film.
Hostage film. This is a good trivia question. What other hostage film was filmed in the Fox building?
I don't know.
Do we ever see the outside of it, or is it just we do?
Yes.
Prior to Die Hard, or is it after?
After Die Hard.
After Die Hard.
Wait, let me double check on that.
It would have to be because they were in the midst of building it and owning, or like buying it and renovating it when this was made. So it would have been after Die Hard.
Oh yeah, it's definitely after.
Yeah.
It is 6 years after.
So 1994, the year of Speed, also the year of True Lies.
It introduced us to 3 very now famous actors.
3 very famous actors. An action film.
3.
Action film 3.
Huey, Dewey, and Louie.
Yeah.
No one said action film.
Not an action film, just a hostage film. Hostage film.
You can cut this out, right, Eric? You can cut this short.
No.
Other Eric figures out.
This is all live.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, we're live.
Well, oof. Did any of the audience know?
Airheads? Is it really?
Airheads.
Yeah.
And you see the outside of the building?
Airheads is a Die Hard riff. I mean, there's a lot of Die Hard jokes in that movie.
Okay. Yeah.
There are a lot of Die Hard jokes in that movie, but
yes. Michael Richards is basically John McClane in that movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
A very poor man's John McClane, but
yes. I like Airheads.
Airheads is a great movie.
Mm-hmm.
Introduced us to 3 amazing actors.
3?
Yeah.
3.
No, but Buscemi was
Sandler.
That was post Reservoir Dogs, so.
Was it?
Oh yeah, Reservoir Dogs '92, and he was also in the Tales from the Dark Side movie. But that's for me.
Oh well, Tales of the Dark Side, yeah, of course. Everyone knows
the
that
movie. And Brendan Fraser, that was post Encino Man.
It was post. Okay, it didn't introduce us exactly.
But didn't
But
really
it made
elevate.
us know how awesome they are.
Yeah, but nobody saw that movie except us. They have now. It's become a cult classic.
Yes,
Did she just shush you?
I
Just
shush people
oh,
all the
okay.
time. I've been shushing you guys all night.
You got to do this.
Quietly.
Shh.
Shush. Shush.
All
right, back to things.
No, but it starts the action, and one of the first things he does is run away, and then what he does is, what does he say? Think. He doesn't.
Is that so monumentously changing from normal?
Think about the action movies prior to that. Commando and
I would like to remind you, I was 1 when this came out, so I don't know.
Please don't remind me. But yeah, it's a lot of the action movies. The guys are just
the MacGyver.
They just know.
Yeah. They're super confident, and instead of trying to shoot his way out or this initially, you know,
he doesn't do anything dumb.
The first thing he does is
strategic.
Yeah, he thinks strategy wise, and he ends up doing the fire alarm. Well, we'll get first responders here. Like, it's just it seems like such a weird thing in an action movie. The first thing of action he does is set off a fire alarm to avoid conflict because he's running away from the bad guys.
Not take charge of it, you know, because he's 1 guy against 12 with machine.
Well, what I love about this is that's
smart.
probably the reason that was never used in other action movies, is because that would ruin the plot. Is the person writing the script was like, and then he pulls the fire alarm. Oh no, wait, then that's the whole movie. Okay,
yeah.
No, he doesn't think to pull the fire alarm.
It's basically the end of Unbreakable.
There you go.
And he calls the cops. He's calling the guy again. He calls the cops.
He realizes something's going on, and then he calls the cops.
Yep.
And I'm sure some of this, I know some of these things were in the initial book, but and I don't know if that was in there. But the idea, though, that this character, again, they're reinforcing the fact that he's not super tough guy. Yes, he's a cop. Yes, he can handle himself, but he's not just going to run in like an idiot and start shooting. Think, John, think. And then he does that. I think that's brilliant from the get-go. And then
he gets distracted, though.
Well, yeah. But
I will say, I love that, like, it's so monumentously changing of the entire genre that someone just logically stopped and thought and acted like a normal human would. Yeah. Like, but that's true. Like, that's true. Like, in a lot of these movies, it's so, you know, everything's so dramatized. Is that a word? We'll go with it. Yeah. Everything's so dramatized that we almost have to create this elevated circumstances just to, like, bring drama to a situation. Whereas in this, the situation is already there, that all he has to do is act like a normal human.
What would you do if you were there, they didn't know you were there, and the terrorists took all those people hostage? What would the average person do? Not Arnold Schwarzenegger. And they make fun of it. There's enough C4 here to level Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like, they're even playing up the idea that all these other movies previously are full-on action, not action and thinking. Yes, there's thinking and there's
mystery. Because honestly, it's kind of a mystery too, because we don't know what these guys are doing, and we really don't see the full picture until much later in the movie. Like, usually you get the whole monologue of, here's what I'm going to do, and here's my plot device to tell you that I'm a lazy writer who doesn't know how to write a script. Instead, we just don't know exactly the full picture until like an hour and a half into the movie.
We know up to the extent that they're there to rob the place. We don't know that initially. Then we get the Takagi scene. He says, well, I'm here to steal all the money, the bearer bonds in your vault. But we don't know the full extent of their plan, as you pointed out. We don't know what the explosives are for. We don't know what they're going to do with the hostages. We don't know that they want to invite the FBI.
Yes, they mentioned it. They're like, the FBI needs to come in later. And you're like, what?
Yeah. It's like there's a 7th lock, and they're like, just trust me. I got this. Again, Gruber.
Another. It's a game of wits. Even though there's lots of gunfire, it's really a game of wits. And the best part of that is once he gets that radio during all this chasing, he can now hear what they're saying. And this is one of my favorite bits, is because I loved Bruce in Moonlighting so much. And once you start watching it, Morgan, I know there'll be things.
I don't know how I'm going to be able to watch it.
You will. We'll figure it out. I'll get you my copies. But there'll be things obviously you won't like about his character, but he is endearing. It's
Okay.
it's of its time, but he is endearing it. But regardless of the play between him and her, he's just a fun smartass. And you get to then begin to see, once he gets that, he's kind of gruff. You know, the wife and him have tension at the beginning, and Ellis doing the coke off the thing and all that.
Mhm.
And, you know, it's the cop.
And the unnecessary naked woman, which we always love throwing into action films.
That was Silver.
That was Silver.
That was Silver.
I mean, that was Silver.
He wanted, in one of the documentaries things I watched, he said he wanted eye candy in it.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one of the things.
There's
Again,
a lot of eye candy.
typical 80s movies, action movies stuff. The gratuity. They have her at the very beginning, but once that is, it's out the window. But
They're like, here, have some boobs.
Yeah,
Call it a
basically.
day.
Yeah, we never see what happened to her.
no, we don't. She's with the group.
That's really one of the biggest letdowns of this film is I don't know what happened to Boobs McGee. I assume that's her name in the credits.
It's in the
Boobs
credits, I
McGee.
think. Boobs McGee.
Boobs McGee.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm looking it up right now. I'm trying to find
What her name is?
yeah.
Yeah, 'cause I thought she was a
I
model.
really want it to be like
There's three, supposedly
unnamed, naked.
there's three Playboy playmates in this movie, supposedly. The one in the picture
Yeah,
that he
she's one of
keeps
them.
seeing
Yeah.
Right.
up in the elevator shaft, and her, and then I guess there's another one somewhere that they put in the movie, but no Boobs McGee on her.
That's okay. I can't believe I didn't know her name. Kim Malin is
Kim
her name.
Mullen. Okay.
Yeah.
That's
or
Boobs
Malin.
McGee.
She was
Boobs
Playboy.
McGee.
She was in the March 1982 issue.
There you go.
May 1982. I'm sorry.
Vintage.
March, May.
Oh, she was also. Oh, that's where I know her. She's also in Weird Science.
What?
You remember her boobs?
Yeah.
There's no boobs in that.
too. Her boobs are in. Yeah, when
There
she
are
gets
boobs
sucked
in that.
Oh, that's her.
fireplace.
Come on.
That's her. Yeah, that's how I know her.
Well,
The
maybe
boobs.
her
She's
name
not the main
is.
girl. She get what's the part in? Tell me this. I only saw Weird Science once.
In Weird
because I was,
Science?
well,
Yeah, well, she's credited as girl
doesn't
playing.
exactly
piano.
age well.
Girl playing piano.
No, but there's a sweetness to it. Girl
There's
playing.
a Anthony Michael Hall to it. That's all it is.
That's
He's
all
good.
it is.
I love
And the
him.
guy from The Hills Have Eyes. He's in it. That's great.
There. You know, we don't want to get digress. I know,
Anyway.
but Weird Science. There are. It's not your not your typical 80s sex comedy.
It isn't.
Oh,
No.
no. That's a
Alright,
whole
we're
nother
not going into
podcast.
this.
That's a whole
Another
other podcast.
That's a whole other
Yeah.
podcast.
Robert
That
Wilson
should be
wants us to move
that
on.
should be our podcast. That's a whole other
There you go.
podcast.
That's a
That's a
whole
whole
other
other
podcast.
podcast.
Yeah. Once he gets the radio, the Bruce
That's
Willis part
clever.
comes in, and when he gets the mouth off to Hans, you then get to see, and to Al, and to Chief.
What's his face? Chief Horribleness.
Yeah.
Blake
you-
Robinson.
more of his personality comes out, and that's where you get to see Bruce shine.
Yeah.
Glass.
He looks. So
Do you think anybody gives a
excited
shit about Glass like that? Like,
That is genius.
it's great. I don't know how.
Great
And then-
foreshadowing too.
Yes.
Yeah, it's the foreshadowing why that's great.
Mhm.
And his delivery, that whole speech.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seems a little forced.
What about them being on the run?
Morgan's just going down and hiding
Sorry,
behind
it's
the mic.
forced.
Stop it.
You think the interplay is forced with?
No, I do think some of Willis's line deliveries are a bit forced.
You don't take
A
that as a
bit.
character thing? Like that's
You think
just
the
him
character
being
would do
him?
that?
But
You don't think the character would do that in that situation at that point?
yeah, it's a little forced. But it's a little forced. It's not a lot of force. It's a little forced.
A little forced.
I think when you watch other movies that are trying to do that on purpose, they don't do it well. Where I think some of it was probably
I
the
think in all
writing.
the other Bruce Willis movies, he does it better.
Like what?
Anything. He does a lot
Oh.
of movies where he just like Hudson Hawk.
Oh, stop it.
You went there, huh?
I did. I went there.
Interesting.
Stop.
Interesting.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, continue. You just ticked because I was right because none of you have anything to say about this.
Because I don't want. Come on.
You're
Hudson
like,
Hawk.
yeah, okay.
But yeah, I think that between him being on the run and the action and his play off, there's your 50-50 with Rickman, to go back to that part. But you get to every time that they have those conversations on the radio. What did you think about those?
Am I supposed to think
Well, you
about
said
something special?
well, you said ham-handed, but
I didn't say. I never said ham-handed.
over.
I said a little.
Said ham
forced.
radio.
Ham radio.
Yeah.
I said a little forced.
Okay.
Say ham-handed.
Well,
Don't you do you not think that he's doing it? I mean, I'm not saying I completely disagree with you, Morgan, because I every time I watch the movie, I always kind of go like, you really want to poke the bear a little bit here? Do you really want to do that?
You're really gonna be in a situation in which people are looking for you, and you're gonna monologue to yourself.
Yeah, I don't mind. Well,
you don't. Do you ever talk to yourself like that?
Not when I'm worried about being found out by guys with machine guns.
Yeah, on the radio, or when he's like, "Think, John, think," like that.
When he's just like in a room by himself, and there's a dude that then comes in right behind him. That, oh look, he found you because you were talking in the middle by yourself.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, there's a point there. I mean, how often do you talk to yourself like that? I mean,
And there are certainly some.
film is a
Some
visual
there's
medium.
a
We need
lot. He
to
does a lot.
internalize what he's saying.
Yeah,
Like
I'm
that
sure
whole
some
part
of
where,
it.
like Al's driving away, where he's all like, "No, don't drive away," like that. Yeah, that you would
Sure.
do that.
Yes.
But again, this is a movie, suspended reality, over dramatization. I'm just saying.
You got to communicate stuff to the audience.
Got to communicate stuff to the audience. Go for it.
Okay. The action in general, from then we're not gonna go all the way to the end, but like that whole stretch, it's at least what, an hour. It's the movie's 2 hours and 12 minutes long. The last hour and a half, hour 20 minutes is all that action.
So much action.
An hour shorter than Avatar.
It's some of the, I mean, for its time. I mean, now you have, stuff, but like it being in such an enclosed space and the play of the movement between the floors and the building, the gunplay is fantastic. The
Interplay.
Yeah, the allusions to it being like a disaster movie, like a towering inferno, it being stuck in a building and then being in an enclosed space. The action, I think, is really well done. Just their movement around the building, using the whole environment.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of another movie specifically in that small of a space comparatively in an action movie. Like, well, is there anything else you can think of?
Executive decision.
Well, again, all the stuff that came
All the
after Die Hard, but like prior to that, like, can you think of?
I mean, I don't have a huge. This is one of those like open-ended that like if I thought about it, yeah, I'm sure I could, but like no. Are we talking about like? Yeah, what are you talking about?
Geographical
Exactly?
space.
Yeah, like
Utilizing a location.
Predators, an entire jungle. Rambo, or First Blood, an entire town.
Speed.
Is an entire expressway.
Yeah.
An
No,
entire
they're
expressway.
in a bus. The action is in a bus.
They're going to his house. They're doing it. Yes, because Speed was basically greenlit off of it's Die Hard on a bus. So
Get out of here.
it is. It's literally everything came after that. But
And produced by Joel Silver.
Yeah, there you go.
So, I'm sorry, I'm still not totally. Are you talking about the like actual mass of like where they're going? What is
the confinedness of the action?
Creating an action
tension.
Space of a limited
it's tension.
Location,
what about Big Trouble in Little China?
Well, I mean, that's a sort of set piece thing. I think I get what Eric's going for here. I'm still going to rack my brain to think about it. But when you think of like when people talk about action, just the term action, you tend to sort of think about sequences, set pieces. Like you think about things from Indiana Jones, for example, the truck scene. That's a great action sequence. Die Hard. The reason why it's become the action movie that it is because of the things we've already been talking about, because of the characters, because of the mystery, because of the way that the plot is the action is a function of the plot as opposed to the action driving the plot, and like with the exception of I think you can say like the fight between Carl and
Great
John is a great action scene. The stuff on the roof is a great action scene. But like even like them just shooting the glass, I mean that's all it is, and that's become a cliche in movies where people you need destruction, just shoot some glass, break some glass, a car flies through some glass and stuff like that. Is the more carnage, the more it looks like some kinetic is happening. Mm-hmm. And here it's like that, like that's a great action scene because of the stakes of it, because of what just happened between Hans and John. And John gives him the empty gun and is like, you think I'm fucking stupid? And then the elevator light goes on and he goes, you were sane? And it's a great way of like fuck you, John.
No, fuck you, Hans.
Right,
right. It's a great back and forth there, and then it's just them just shooting it out. It's not like a John Woo type, ballet of bullets and stuff like that.
Don't bring back John Woo into this situation.
Why?
John Woo's good too. On occasion.
No, we are very good. Eric and I had a very upsetting John Woo session at our trivia game night that did not go well.
What did we?
We just didn't get a lot of questions.
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
John Woo.
Yeah.
When did we have John Woo questions at?
You know what? This is not important. So
okay.
Let's moving on.
Digressing again.
Anyway.
John Woo, great action director.
I think the idea, though, is, like I said, like, even when you watch First Blood, pretty fantastic movie that is also has a point to it. It's not just gratuitous action. It's about a plot. It has a story. But you have a whole town. I mean, at the end, yes, he's in primarily one building and that kind of stuff. But, like, the whole town is sort of part of that character. Predator, the whole jungle. Lethal Weapon, the whole city. Like, there's all these action movies that take place over numerous places, numerous locations. Die Hard, you had disaster movies like Towering Inferno, or was Poseidon Adventure. You're in a boat, you're in a building. There's your
Poseidon Adventure,
which is also good.
My favorite disaster movie.
And that's in one location, and that's what sets the tension. And yes, there's people screwing each other over and all that kind of stuff. But this somehow merged the action of an action movie and the motion of an action movie in these larger-than-life locations into what is basically 4 stories of a building. He's always a floor away from getting killed. He can't just leave the building. Like, he might have been able to grapple his way down the elevator shaft and run out of the front door, but he never was going to. He had to stay because she was there. And I think that makes that even more tense. Even when he runs, he knows he can't run away.
It's also a good cop, bad cop kind of thing where it's a Hollywood, it's like a producer's worst nightmare. Is not opening up an action movie like that. Like, Indiana Jones, you have all these different countries and locations and, stunt work and all that kind of stuff. Here, it's just one thing. How do we, we got this one location. How do we, it's like Jaws on a boat. Okay. You're on a boat. So there's a good example, I suppose. It's a horror movie, I guess.
But you have the town at the whole first half of that movie.
The first half of the movie. But then when they're on the boat,
yes,
it's just that. And you have to figure out how to create something out of that, and they were doing that on that movie too. Is trying to figure out, the shark here and it's not working shit. We got to figure out something else. I'll get the raft to represent the shark and stuff like that.
So, because I'm a nerd, I googled action films in one location.
Okay, or what does it say?
It kind of gets my idea. It started off. My favorite is the very first one is Die Hard 2.
What?
So who wrote this article?
Yeah, what?
I don't know.
Are the idiots?
But 2 of my favorites that I think deserve some comment are Panic Room. Very impressive.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
Very impressive use of small space.
Mm-hmm.
And Gremlins 2.
Gremlins 2 is all set in a building. Yeah, totally. Which is also, it's not
right
entirely a Die Hard riff, but
it might as well be a little bit.
Yeah.
Could you?
Oh, that's a good one.
Coming from your background, couldn't you see if they did this right, if they rewrote it in just the right way? Because people have done it, by the way, and I think you'll find this. I don't know if you know this.
What?
Turn this into a stage play.
Not shocked.
And
Morgan's favorite thing is plays based on movies.
I find that hard to believe.
Musicals based on movies are one of my least favorite thing of all time.
I think that's what it is. I think it's called Die Hard the Musical, which I don't
the only Die Hard musical that I give credence to, that everyone should know about, that is absolutely amazing, is the Die Hard musical from Bob's Burgers,
which is great.
Is the best thing ever.
We'll get into that at the end, but there's so many homages to this. But it just the fact that there's so few people, it's such a small space, you could easily, break from scene to scene, back and forth, move pieces in. I did a little bit of Tech Crew years ago, but it was a long time ago, Morgan.
You're gonna tell me about how you can move some stuff around?
No, I know you. Like I said, it was a long time ago. I know minimal.
For those of you that don't know, I am a professional stage manager.
Right.
This is why Eric is giving me a guff.
But no, I'm not giving guff at all.
I'm giving you guff because you're trying to pull this off.
No, yeah. the little bit I know, I could even picture it, and with my incredibly tiny amount of knowledge on the subject, I imagine this could, if done right, you could easily do this even on a small stage because of.
It's funny you should mention that, because I have some friends who work with a theater company that do a lot of crazy, weird adaptations and this, you'll appreciate this. Oh my gosh, how have I not talked about this before? 2 adaptations involving Die Hard. One of them was Old Hobbits Die Hard, which was a combination of Lord of the Rings and Die Hard. And then the other one was a combination of, I just talked about it, Big Trouble in Little China and Die Hard.
Okay.
Which play very well together, actually.
There you go. I just think it, especially if it was done the right way, you could easily.
It was a very small space. I should mention. It was put on in a very small space, and it worked very easily.
Yeah. I should have done this in high school.
Yeah, see? Yeah. It easily
Eric,
could
why didn't you write this in high school?
Because I did Miracle on 34th Street in high school. I tried to put Santa Claus behind bars.
What?
I was the lawyer.
Yeah, you're right. No, I get it.
I just like I think it makes it more tense, and I think the action is even more scary if you put yourself in that situation. You can't just run away because she's the hostage. Like in Die Hard 2, she's on a plane. She's nowhere near him, but she could
I was expecting so much from Die Hard 2 when I saw it, and I was like,
Okay.
Mostly because she's on a plane.
And
it's and also that news guy's on the plane.
Die Hard 2, I think Die Hard 2 is pretty great, but when I talk about diminishing characters, that's literally the sequel definition of we have to get all the beloved characters back. We can bring back Al for one scene. We put, the two of them on the plane together.
I love that there's a lawsuit for her punching him. That's the part that really, I love that.
Have you ever, I was going to ask you this morning, have you ever clocked a guy like that?
No, but is it bad that I'm prepared to?
No.
Now? Are you looking at me? What?
Whoa. Sounds like threats.
Chakotay, I'm going to punch Chakotay. No.
Not in the comments.
I have never personally had the joy of punching somebody in the face, but if
you wanted to,
it needed to be done, then I feel like I'm prepared.
Good.
Okay.
That's what I'm here for.
Good enough. Good enough.
Good enough. Very, very good.
Well, that's the story that Rickman tells about Alexander Goodenough from the movies. He asked him how he pronounces his name, and he's like, "My name is Goodenough." Good enough.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Of all the bad guys,
mine is Rickman.
Rickman. Alan. Severus.
Of all the bad guys in that movie, there's a few you see for half a second. There's the couple that die pretty quickly. But you have Alan Rickman, a stage actor who no one had really, other than people who saw him on stage, no one knew who he was. And you have Alexander Goodenough, who, as far as I know, had only really been in 2 other movies, one of them being The Money Pit, which is a fantastic movie. But he played one of the best silly parts ever in a movie, too. He's great in that movie. But that was it. He was a world-famous dancer, and he played a silly little character in The Money Pit, and that's it. You would
Well,
not
don't
have
forget,
thought.
The Witness. Let's not. The Witness is his other big movie.
Okay, but did he?
Oh, he is in The Witness.
Yeah,
That's what it
he's
was.
he's the one that has the crush on Kelly McGillis.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's very sweet. It's a very sweet. He brings a lot to that role. He really does.
He's a great actor. I'm amazed he hasn't done even more than he did.
He passed away.
Yeah.
A while
thereafter?
ago.
Yeah. Not shortly, but he he didn't live a whole lot longer. Didn't he die a little early? He was kind of a young death. Yeah.
Yeah. He was 45.
Yeah, he's a young guy.
Oh.
Yeah.
But he would you have ever thought Goodenough would be such a great villain? Like you just I don't I
you didn't really. I mean, you didn't really.
I mean, look at it. He
prepare.
doesn't. I mean, was this pre or post
Post-
Rocky 4? Because he looks a little like what's his face?
Post like Dolph Lundgren.
See, I'm sure that they were like, get
I
us
don't
a
know.
Dolph Lundgren type. That guy. Okay, come on.
He should have played He-Man.
Yeah, Goodenough.
Yeah.
Him doing ballerina moves.
Yeah.
But yeah, because again, I didn't watch ballet, and the only reason I knew him was because of Money Pit, and he played kind of a silly, fun character in that. I was like, that's kind of fun, and then all of a sudden you see him in that movie, and he's tipping over desks, and it surprised me that he could play a bad guy, and he so well. I want blood, and the whole thing, and him sitting back watching Ellis talk on the radio, and like, you want me to kill this guy? I think he pulled it off. Of all the weird happenstances, Alexander Goodenough was a great sidekick. He's his Starscream. Like, he's a great...
It's great. Well, and that's even one of the things, if you've ever seen the Bob's Burger episode, is that Louise insists that she play Carl. That's her whole thing. Like, I'm Carl with the beautiful hair. It's so good.
He's such an imposing figure, though. I mean, sometimes you have that look about you, and I mean, it really is a shame because I mean, think of those three movies we just talked about: Witness, Money Pit, and Die Hard. He's completely different in all of them. There's, and he could have been a character like that in Witness. Could have been this, this foil to Harrison Ford, but that's not what that movie was about. And yeah, I mean, when he gets into that fight with McClane, you're thinking McClane's in real trouble.
Oh yeah.
Like at that point, McClane is in some real trouble, and it leads to one of the greatest fight maneuvers I've ever seen to this day in a movie. I
was gonna say in a movie because I was about to be like, I'm sorry, Game of Thrones.
Yes, okay. Fight maneuver.
Best fight maneuver you will ever see in your life.
Okay, we're gonna follow up on that.
Yes.
But no, when he's got the gun in his face and he knocks the gun away, and then he throws him up against the thing, and he just boom, 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 boom. He just never stops punching him. And I'm just like, why? Where has this been? That's because that's exactly what someone in that situation would do. Like, you would just never stop hitting somebody.
Yeah.
That's all you could do. Because
you're so angry. You've been running that whole time, and now you're stuck. You're stuck in that room. You know that guy's capable, and you're so pissed that you put your wife in danger. You're gonna beat the ever living hell out of him, and he was it 8 or 9 times in a row to the gut, just wham, 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 like, and good shots. They put that real nice bass sound to it when he's wailing on him like that.
He was wailing on him against like those metal pipes, and so like every time he hits him, he's hitting the metal pipes with his back. So this again, the sound work is fantastic in it. But then when he gets his arm and then he punches him, he's like, oh shit. Now he's got the upper hand.
Yep. And to make matters worse, eventually he gets the gun and shoots him and wounds him and makes him even less of a capable to handle himself after that. I mean,
because every hero gets shot in the arm.
Of course.
Every hero gets shot in the arm. Shoulder.
Goodenough is great. It leads, him running around, doing all that stuff, going up and down the elevator. He rode that elevator, Bruce Willis himself. He also stood on the edge with the fire hose. There was a rigging to keep him so he didn't fall off the building. But that was Bruce Willis. He didn't do the actual jump, but he did stand on the edge of Nakatomi Plaza like that. And
we all know about Rickman going down.
Yeah, that at the end.
Yeah.
Reginald Val Johnson, as far as I know, had not done much prior to this.
Get the Ghostbusters out of jail.
That's right. You're right. Okay.
Ghostbusters. Whole island's gone nuts.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
I totally forgot about that.
Right.
He would go on to fame with Family Matters or whatever it was with Urkel. But regardless, he had that show was on for like a decade. So
he
this
definitely
movie
got typecast. He was just a police officer left, right, and center.
right.
Yeah.
I'm like, is he supposed to be the same character? Like, is he the same guy? All of that. That's so many people are like, well, Family Matters is just a continuation of Die Hard. And I'm like, okay.
I go the other way. I think that Al Powell is actually the one that lets the Ghostbusters out of jail.
There you go.
You know, he worked his way up from prison guard to desk, beat cop, desk cop.
Desk cop, very different. Desk cop is very different than a beat cop, Eric.
Hey, the kid had a ray gun. It looked real enough.
In honor, I got some Twinkies. I'm gonna have one. I can get one through. I can fax one to you if you'd like.
There you go.
I
have a fax.
Eric is very aware of those amazing Twinkies we had at the Nick D podcast.
Yeah, those were so good.
The chocolate mint, the mint.
Oh yeah,
so good.
Oh good.
Nick once had a showing of Die Hard, and I go to every one I can at a theater that I know of. I go and see it.
And we should do a Die Hard for the film critics.
We did a Die Hard for the film critics.
So how was the turnout? Should we get another?
Not as much as I would have hoped.
Yeah,
it was like 75 people, and unfortunately now because Fox has been bought by Disney does not allow people to do that.
No.
Music Box is one of the few places that can actually still pull that off.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
But I always bring multiple boxes of Twinkies with me when I go. And so Nick and I threw Twinkies to everybody in the crowd before the movie started, so everyone had a Twinkie while we were watching the movie. Somehow the theater allowed me to bring them all in, even though it's outside food.
Like Twinkies.
Yeah. But yeah, his character doesn't get a whole lot of time, but his talking with McClane and Bruce on the radio is, I think, some of the nicest stuff. Obviously, the nicest stuff in the movie. It's really heartfelt, and although it's not really friendship dilemma, they slowly become friends during this movie. It's not male-female friendship, but they become friends. Even so much at the end of the movie, he seeks him out in the crowd, and it makes it even more sort of heartfelt. I know you don't think that it's that heartfelt, but
it's a little much.
I like the speech in the bathroom, which you mentioned before, Childress. The speech in the bathroom, especially it's Bruce's to him, not Al's necessarily about the kid with the plastic gun. And I know, but he asked him, why aren't you, blah, blah, blah. But when he says, look, Al, and he tells him, that speech and their burgeoning friendship over the radio, but that part in particular, he just assumes, it sounds like he assumes he's going to die. He thinks he's going to die.
Hard.
And he tells Al, you need to, well, hopefully he's not hard. But he tells him...
That is the best moment of a podcast I've ever gotten a chance to be a part of. I'm so sorry.
Don't be sorry.
This lovely moment. Anyway, continue.
But
he thinks he's going to die.
He does. He thinks he's going to die, and he tells Al, like, here's my last wish. You got to talk to her if I can't, because he thinks he's going to die. Well, that just got ruined. No,
sorry, ruined the show. I'm sorry.
Well, come on. You got to talk about hard.
Sorry. No, very serious moment.
No, very serious.
He's going to die. He talks about his wife. He talks about a kid with a gun.
But you had mentioned that...
It's an Oscar clip.
I was going to say, you had mentioned that specifically earlier. Like, that was a highlight for you, was that particular.
It's a great moment.
Yeah, it absolutely
is. Good acting.
Yeah, not even a lot of the action heroes over time. I mean, the cliche of the male action hero has the wife that has to be saved, or they have to reconcile, all that stuff has become a cliche over the years. But, sometimes they're not even married, so they don't have anyone to...
Sometimes they just met 5 minutes ago.
Sometimes they do that, yeah.
Sometimes they recently tried to get that other guy killed, but then they decided that they liked whatever that guy was doing, so now there's something in that.
Yes, exactly. So it's to have that moment, and you believe it. I mean, he sells it so well that when it gets down to that final showdown between the two of them, there's the real tension. You worry that one of them's not going to make it out of it, particularly him at that point.
Yeah, I don't know what Al's going to do, but Al doesn't make it out of it.
Well, Al gets to shoot someone.
I know, but we're pretty sure Al's going to make it okay.
What about Argyle?
True.
Yeah.
I am worried about Argyle.
Could be.
The people.
I thought that might be the reason he's in the basement, but it wasn't. So
what, to die? You wanted him to just be
Yeah.
there so he died?
I did.
The people we haven't talked about yet is what's going on outside the building, which is your favorite guy, the chief, but also two of the biggest morons ever, but lovable morons, Johnson and Johnson. But we're not related.
The part that always gets me is the Bob's Burgers episode song, which is in that episode. It's played by twins, Johnson and Johnson, even though they look nothing alike in the movie. But they have a whole song that's just like, I'm Major Johnson, and I'm Major Johnson, and we're with the FBI. It's just like, he's Johnson. It's just all it's about, the two of them being Johnsons.
It's the Silverman sisters, right? Sarah and her sister,
Yes.
those twins. Yeah, I remember. I haven't seen it in a little bit, but yeah.
Oh, it's so good. Anyway, sorry, but yes, Johnson and Johnson, not the smartest tools in the shed.
They're great goofballs. I know they're not goofballs.
You describe them as goofballs?
That's probably not the right word.
They're asshole bureaucratic FBI dicks.
Yeah, I meant
Wow,
like they're not.
fast.
They're smart. Yeah. They think they're smart, and they're not. I would actually say
we could lose 25% of the hostages. Tops.
I
can live with that.
The younger one. What's the dude that's in all the mob movies? What's his name?
Grand Bush. Well,
No.
I mean, wait, which one are you talking? Who are you talking about?
The other one.
Robert Davi.
Robert
Yeah, the
Davi.
other one.
Yeah.
Yeah, Robert Davi.
From Goonies.
He's more of an
Yeah.
asshole.
Yeah.
He's more of the asshole.
Yeah.
I don't think the other FBI guy is as much of an asshole.
He agrees with the taking out of the hostages. I can live with that.
I guess he does say that. You're right.
Yeah.
He does say that.
Yeah, they're both dicks.
They're both dicks.
I forgot. You're right. He does say that.
Mm-hmm.
Davi's more.
We like him a little bit more because he's got the Vietnam War line.
And Davi's is way more belligerent.
The Vietnam War line.
Way more. He's like, oh, this is like fucking Saigon, and he goes, I was in junior high, dickhead, because he's so much younger than him.
Sounds like a Morgan line.
Yeah.
I was in junior high, dickhead.
Yeah.
I was barely born, dickhead.
That's right. That's basically what he was saying.
Yeah.
But Davi's more aggressive. He's yelling at Dukeman to turn off the lights. He's yelling at the
shits about your switch.
Dukeman's great in that scene, by the way.
Yeah.
Dukeman is great. You can't do it here. You can't.
Also died very young.
Dukeman? Oh, that's right.
Dukeman. Mm-hmm. From the Burbs and heart attack, I think. I'll look that up. Yeah, I mean, the Burbs, Groundhog Day. Well, not that. I mean, 62. That's still pretty young. 2015. It's a lot sooner than I realized. But yeah, he's gone too.
The chief, of course, doing things what he thinks is right. And Al's not having it the whole time. He plays. He's the principal. No, he's not. Yeah, he is.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
Breakfast
in Breakfast Club. Always plays a good bad guy.
Which
Atherton's always
just
plays
like
bad.
an ex, like he could be that guy's brother. Like
Yeah.
they're both just jerk faces who just are assholes.
What you haven't seen is on YouTube. I changed the background. We're in the air vent. In the background of it.
Background.
Yeah, on YouTube. I changed the background so we're in the vent. But that scene, before we hit the end, that scene in particular was not supposed to end up the way it did. The stuntman actually lost his grip. It was like a 70-foot shaft that they had built with an airbag at the bottom, and he was supposed to go
What are we talking about?
the air shaft. Before we hit the end, I wanted to just include this really quick because I wanted to talk about the background. But when Bruce is escaping and doing all that stuff before he gets to the end, he goes. He's escaping them, and he goes into the air shaft, and he puts the gun to hold himself up, and he's reaching for the other one.
Yes.
You know, when he goes to reach for that one, it's a kind of a downward shot, and when the thing falls, he falls, and he's supposed to grip onto that one he's reaching for. The stuntman missed it. And the shot, he fell, whatever it was, 70 feet, I think, to the airbag. And they're like, well, great, we're going to have to do that again or whatever. And the editor, I guess, was like, that shot's really good. What if you just do another shot where from inside the vent,
he just catches himself.
He catches himself further down, but he goes that way. And then they did. They filmed a shot to show.
I marked that mentally and was like, he just caught himself in that? Okay.
Well, his shoulders are going to be fucked for life after that.
Seriously.
His whole body's going to be destroyed after that.
His fingers broke when he did that.
But he goes through hell. The FBI does not help anybody.
Except Hans.
Yeah, right. They do what Hans figured they would do. They're playing the terrorist playbook. The shot from a movie perspective, there's very few times we've seen helicopters being this close to people, and one of them obviously turned out incredibly tragic, which was the Twilight Zone, where unfortunately some people died.
There's actually, if I just may interject for a second, if you've ever, and this is going to sound weird, if you've ever seen the movie Attack of the Killer Tomatoes.
Yeah.
Who hasn't? There's a shot.
I have.
You have, right?
I have.
Okay.
And Attack of the Killer Tomatoes 2.
With George Clooney.
Yes.
Return of the Killer Tomatoes.
Return of the Killer Tomatoes. Isn't that also? No, it's not. It's a woman who looks like Daryl Hannah, who is not Daryl.
It's not Daryl Hannah. But in Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, it's like in the very first 15 minutes of the movie, there's the helicopter starts spinning around. And you're thinking like it's supposed to be part of the movie. It's this like funny, goofy thing. The helicopter spinning around and it crashes. That was real.
Oh my God.
It was absolutely real. It was not supposed to. It was an actual crash.
Okay.
I don't think anyone died. I don't remember. I don't think anyone died. Don't think that shot would have been in the movie if they had died. But no, I think they pulled the person out who was piloting. But It was an actual crash captured, and it looks like a joke. It's almost meant to be a joke. Like, oh, this stupid helicopter is crashing in the background while the characters are talking in the foreground. But anyway.
The only other movie I could think of with helicopters being this aggressive was that, what was that football player movie where he had to infiltrate a biker gang?
Stone Cold.
They flew that was a real helicopter stunt. Yeah. They flew that helicopter down one of the capital streets in one of the states. They flew it really, anything below, I think, 500 feet is what McTiernan said is like... Yeah. FAA a no-no, like you do not do it. You have to get super secret special permission. And that's another movie I thought of where they're hauling ass, that helicopter across that road leading up to the Capitol. This shoot for that scene where the FBI helicopters approach the top of that building, they flew through the streets called like Century Parkway or Avenue of America or something down Century City there in California. They had 24 camera crews, and they were only allowed to do it over a 2-hour period. That was it. They had to get all their shots in, and they had those 2 helicopters flying barely above light pole height down those streets, down at like L.A. or wherever that is, Century City. Mm-hmm. And they had to get it all done in 2 hours. Above the building was different because it was above 500 feet or whatever, so it was a little bit different, but... I guess they had to go through hell logistically. Childress, can you think of another movie that was like that, like physical? Like, I don't know. I'm like Top Gun. They flew past the build,
well, I'm thinking about Matrix, where they fly the helicopter into the building.
But that's CG.
CG though.
Yeah.
But
so fun little detail. Are you ready for this?
Yeah, go for it.
The helicopter crash at the early scene. This is for Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. A helicopter crash in the early scene was unintentional. The tail rotator blades accidentally hit the ground, causing the helicopter to spin out of control. Debris and top rotator blades narrowly missed the police officers in the scene and the crew off camera. The pilot received minor injuries. Nobody is hurt. After being pulled from the wreck, Jack Riley and George Wilson quickly ad-libbed the rest of the scene as the wreck was set on fire.
Oh my God.
The crash of the $60,000 rented helicopter used up more of the budget than any other aspect of the film combined.
Yeah, it's amazing. And you actually see it happen. You see the back blade hit the ground and cause the rotate. Yeah.
Now I'm gonna watch that later.
That's great.
And the helicopter in Die Hard 3, that final finale bit, there was trickery there, CG. They didn't fly that helicopter that close to that light pole.
Oh, no.
So this movie was probably...
Terminator 2. T-1000.
Oh, yeah, where it hits the...
helicopter and it goes under the underpass and stuff like that. And helicopter stunts, you're thinking about like really dangerous stunts. Anything that Cruise is doing right now, Mission Impossible, I think could count in that respect.
But that's putting himself in danger. I'm talking like heavy machinery, throwing planes and in real, not CG.
Harrison Ford gets in and out.
Yeah, anytime Harrison Ford gets in a plane.
True.
Are we counting
Look
that?
out.
Are we counting that?
We did it, Chewie. Yeah, no, that does count. Yeah, I think that does count.
That's a good one. The Terminator 2 one was good. They did use Harriers. They had a real Harrier on True Lies.
That's a real Harrier situation.
Yeah, nice. But yeah, those shots are amazing. Seeing those helicopters approach the building. McTiernan in one of the documentaries mentions that the helicopter is supposed to fly over the helicopter pad at the end. When the hostages are up there and he shoots the gun, it was supposed to go over the crowd. And as they're going over, they shoot at him or whatever. I guess he let it pass by once, and it was so uncomfortable because you're supposed to do it a whole bunch of times. It was so uncomfortable that McTiernan you can't do that anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. All these people are going to die. So that's why in the final shot of the movie, it comes up from the side of the building and it's sort of at the edge. And then as they're all off the building, it kind of takes that swoop where it goes kind of near the top because he freaked out. He's like, this is going to happen again, and I'm going to be the guy who kills all these people on the roof of this building. And that's how real it was for them. Like, that copter was right there next to the side of that building when that was going on.
You could probably, anytime from even before Twilight Zone, but even before Die Hard, anytime, pre-1983, stunt work was just insane. When they were doing stuff. There's a shot in Used Cars, Zemeckis' film, where Garrett Graham is backing up on a highway. He's because he gets out of the car that he thinks is bad luck. And he's walking back, and there's a car coming full speed at him, and he's just walking back, no idea where the car is, and at the last second, the car turns. But it's him. It's the actor just walking backwards, and it's just like, if he goes, whoa, he's dead. Yeah,
that's crazy.
It's an amazing stunt. I don't think Graham even knew how close he was to that car.
Might have been an accident.
Yeah.
Lucky.
I think Zemeckis says the first time I sent a camera back in a shoebox, look how close they got to killing somebody at that point.
Jesus.
Yeah.
The fact that it all ends up taking place on the top of that building is one of Joel Silver's. I want the top of the building to blow up. That's one of his things. I want
this movie to end in a big explosion.
Right.
It would.
So again, your typical 80s stuff. So if you didn't have the DeSouzas in there, the McTiernans in there trying to bring, quote, joy, that's literally his words, and Willis kind of making it more what it became, more silly or joyful, human. Even those, human. Yeah. I want some eye candy. I want the top of the building blow up. I want it to be called Die Hard. It would have just been one of those movies. Had McTiernan not stepped in, had Bruce Willis not talked to D'Souza and said, I want to be allowed to kind of make some stuff up, and then D'Souza writing some funny bits in there and making it more human about this regular guy, it would have been more eye candy. Let's blow more of the building up. You already get enough of it. And it's the perfect mix of both. And I think that's when it leads up to this climactic thing on the roof. Then it's okay they want to blow the top of the building up because you've had so much of the other stuff leading up to it.
It almost makes up for it.
Yeah.
Well, Morgan, you said before, I wanted to follow up on this, what you were saying before about the idea of, you said you don't quite understand the obsession that people of this era who kind of grew up with this movie or saw it at a young age have with the movie. I mean, even you would admit, I mean, that's sort of true for every age group, generation, demographic, that there are certain films that just come along at the right, perfect time for you.
Yes, but I don't think it's a
obsessed with.
specific, like, I don't think there's a specific age range in here. You know, it's not like only people who were born between this year and this year who have this obsession. It's like goes on and on and on.
Right, but
Like,
that's,
even
but
people who are
that's
just
true for.
discovering it now are still are getting that in.
Yeah, but wouldn't you say that that would be the same true of, say, something like Jurassic Park, that it has grown, people quote that movie, people love that movie.
Yes.
New people
Not
discover
to
it all
the
the time.
extreme, though. People really get in on Die Hard. Everyone loves Jurassic Park. I know a few people who don't like Jurassic Park. It's a whole thing that I don't want to talk about. What?
Eric's going to start making a list.
I know, too.
Yeah.
Who are these people? I want to know their names.
Yes.
Oh, one of them's Nick DiGilio. I'm going to call him out right now.
Yes.
One of them is Nick DiGilio.
That's a Spielberg
I
thing.
think it's a great movie. Everyone likes that movie. No, I don't know anybody who doesn't like that movie. Nobody, as far as I know, much like our good friend Eric here, pulls it out once a year and has a freaking homage to it every single holiday season.
Do you not have a film? I mean, maybe you don't have like a ritual you don't have, but there are films and TV shows even that you will revisit regularly.
Yes.
Okay, so.
But even stuff that I revisit that I can say, oh my God, that's really good. I still don't think I hold it to the reverence of this. Like a movie I watch like at least once a year, all of the Lord of the Rings movies.
Okay.
Anyway,
fantastic.
I'm sorry, original 3. Let's not go crazy with the Hobbit.
Right.
But original 3, definitely watch those movies all the time, and I think they're amazing, and they really do hit me very hard, and it hits my soul. And yeah, I would say that I'm a huge, huge fan of it. But even then, it still doesn't quite feel like the reverence that some of these diehard fans give that movie.
Is it the reverence because you feel like there's an aggressiveness about it? Like people who like come at Die Hard, there's an instant reaction to like a defense, like you.
It's like there are people who can quote that movie, like could do the whole movie, do the whole script.
Eric, you start.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And you don't get that with Lord of the Rings. As much as we love Lord of the Rings, mind you,
it's
11
longer.
Elvish, but still.
Yeah.
I think it's a testament, and again, maybe because you were so young. I mean, what were you? What'd you say? 1? Yeah.
What month was this in?
It's a testament.
August '88.
Yeah, I was 1 in a month.
It's a testament to just how much of a game changer this movie was. And you're like, well, it's an action movie. Again, there is pre-Die Hard. And Childress could name off 50 movies that are, action movies. But they're more, it's just violence. Look, there's a lot of good ones. I'm not crapping on them. But I'm just saying.
There's a lot of humanizing in this that you don't get in some of them. And mind you, my lovely boyfriend has been introducing me to a lot of action movies from that time period. And I get it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's action and violence for action and violence sake, which can be good too, because a movie like Mad Max Fury Road is action and violence, but it's a beautiful piece of art that uses that violence to paint an amazing picture. But these movies,
I don't know if I would consider Die Hard a beautiful piece of art.
No, but
if you're talking about the humanizing and the nature of the individuals in it and the heart behind it, that's where, I get the appeal. I get it. It's a great, great movie. But this is like a cult. There's like cults of people who watch Die Hard. And that's what I don't get.
Not the token people, right?
I have. Get it. I get it.
Okay.
And maybe there's part of it, maybe that, the Tolkien people have, like D&D and different
Sure.
ways in which to express this this
Yeah.
adoration.
Right.
Whereas like the people who really are fans of Die Hard are just like, like in your face. Like
I think it's because I think now you certainly get it like when my aunt at the beginning immediately. It's not a Christmas movie, so every year it's a fun. It's like a White Sox Cubs thing, at least the right way. He's a Cubs fan. I'm a Sox fan. We're playful with it. There are people though, your 5%, that you have to start a fight. They're pieces of garbage. Like
I have to choose. I have to be somehow like showing you that I'm a better fan of Die Hard than you are.
And those people, yes, are not what I'm.
And what Morgan is saying too is
you're
that
100% right by that.
You're right, and then you'll even agree that not all of the fans who exist of Die Hard, not all of them grew up in the same era that we did. Don't view it as this game-changing type thing. They just see it as this action movie that maybe they were brought into it with the Christmas movie angle and whatnot, and then it becomes a gatekeeping defense mechanism sort of thing.
To quote.
Right, it's fun to quote, and it's all, and let's be honest, I mean, it's as great as it's an easy watch, it's just, you put it on and it's like, oh my god.
I don't know about that. It's pretty long.
But it stands. I think
you watched the Lord of the Rings movies, right? You watched the extended cuts,
3.5 hour cuts.
That's probably not a good sign for Die Hard. If I'm like, yeah, Lord of the Rings, I'm like, oh, I don't know about that.
Well,
I think that
might just be you.
It's a testament to what it did for, I was 16. I think it was 16.
Yeah.
It's a testament that all the other action movies before it were immediately put on like this, beat it immediately. And then from then till now, yes, there are movies that are amazing. Fury Road's one of them. Action movie. It's amazing. Mm-hmm. There are movies that have come along and been just as good for me, or really well done. A couple of the Marvel movies are way up there as far as action, as far as I like them, right? There are some of the Mission Impossible movies also up there, action movies, fantastic movies. Couple of the Bond movies, John Wick in its own way it's a ballet of guns. Like there are things that have stood up. I love it. A lot of guns.
That should be the next title.
Ballet of Guns.
John Wick 5, Ballet of
Guns.
There is the spin-off movie that is about a ballerina turned into an assassin. I think it's called.
Yeah, it's called Ballerina.
Ballerina. I didn't even intend that, but there are movies that do it. But I think even Kit, like we're saying, Kit yelling at the clouds like an old man. There's the kids now. If you were to put this action, like you see a movie action movies, well, have you ever seen Die Hard? No, watch that. That person, I'm willing to bet way high percentage would come back and go, that movie's amazing, and it's 35 years old. 35 years old.
How many of those people would be men?
I'm not making it about a sex thing or gender thing.
No, but it is.
Yeah, it's a dude thing. Field of Dreams hits men way different than it does women. Field of Dreams is one of those movies. I get it. Terminator's like that too.
It really opened my eyes when I showed a friend of mine Ghostbusters, and she hated it.
Oh, well, see, I don't understand that at all.
Well, because if you are a woman in the modern
era,
the beginning,
I get you.
Ghostbusters, it doesn't go great for you.
Anything Bill Murray does in that movie is not really great.
Yeah.
Everything, even the whole thing with him and Sigourney Weaver, it's kind of creepy and kind of gross.
Okay. Well, there's none of that in this movie, is there?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I do think, I think that people will like it, but again, oh yeah, it was a good movie.
Yeah, and I'm just happy you didn't hate it. That's what I'm happy about.
You thought I was gonna hate it?
I didn't know.
How do you hate Die Hard?
See?
Exactly. How do you hate Die Hard? That's my point. Is I think most people, if you sat them down, even now that have never seen it, and said, "Just watch this," I think whether you want to say gender or not or whatever, I think even women would. Most women would watch this movie and go, I like that movie.
Wait, Morgan, would you not, if someone did ask you if you thought Die Hard was, in the upper echelon, I'll just leave it at that, the upper echelon of action movies that you've ever seen, you wouldn't include it on that list?
It's okay if it's not.
Where my mind goes to directly.
Okay.
Okay.
It's not like if someone was like, name the, like, in your mind, like real quick, like if someone came up to me on the street and was like, name your 5 favorite action films.
Go.
Die Hard's not on that list.
What are they? Go.
Jurassic Park, Aliens,
Okay.
Terminator 2,
Okay.
the Speed,
Okay.
The Matrix.
Okay. Indiana Jones didn't make the list.
Speed over this though.
Again,
And it's okay. I'm fine.
It's
I'm just
where
asking.
my mind goes.
I
It's where
understood.
my mind goes.
Understood.
Maybe it's because it's such a more of a heart-tugging
You didn't even say
film.
Fury Road.
Yeah, Fury.
I didn't even say Fury Road.
Fury Road's great.
Again, this is,
Yeah,
where my mind immediately goes to.
I gotcha.
I mean,
And that's the other thing is there's a
It's
lot of
almost like Die Hard and Fury Road are too good and complex for me to immediately go action movie. Okay, that.
Okay. Well, and that's the thing is like you said.
The term action movie is minimizing to you.
A little bit. In this context, yeah,
Okay.
maybe.
Okay. And I think you're right about a lot of fandoms in general. There are Marvel people that are toxic fandoms. There are.
What?
Yeah. What?
You
I would say there's.
Marvel toxic?
There was
Oh.
even a contingent of, and I'm not doing this. It's only because you mention it. There are people that gatekeep. I played Dungeons and Dragons a little bit when I was in high school. There are people, even on that level, who are now gatekeeping that. Like, well, you were not a nerd when I was a nerd, so why you don't get to like Tolkien now?
Yeah.
Okay, who cares?
Yeah, I know.
Right.
I hope
Open
more
the
people
door.
read Tolkien. I hope more people read comic books. I
See,
hope
here's my
more
pro-
people.
here's-
I think a majority of
get
fans are
part
like
of-
that.
I get where you're coming from, and I agree.
Yeah.
I think that anytime anyone appreciates art under any context, I'm okay with it. I'm great. I love it. Happy, happy, happy. What drives me crazy is when people criticize art without really understanding the history of it.
Agreed.
That's when I start to really having a hard time with it. When people are like, well, that's racist, that's sexist, that's this. And it's like, yeah, it is now. But at the time, it was revolutionary. At the time, it was actually opening people's eyes to the plights of these characters. Like, a big one for me is Big Trouble in Little China. I've had several friends who have never even seen the movie, who have no context really, be like, well, I've heard that's racist. And I'm like, yeah, if you put that movie out tomorrow, it's racist. It's not the best situation. It's dealing with it's painting a picture of Asian culture in a way that is a little not the way that they would want it to be represented. However, at the time, it was a story that focused on Asian culture, which you were not getting. It was an action film that actually employed like every Asian actor that was in Hollywood at the time.
Right.
And it does show a dichotomy. There's the evil gang and the good gang.
And it also has an Asian hero. And everyone's like, oh, well, no, it's not. Kurt Russell's not Asian. I'm like, well, Kurt Russell's not the hero. And that's the part that people keep getting stuck on. So yeah, like that's when it starts to become of an issue for me, is not necessarily about whether or not people love it. Like, I'd be happy to like introduce a whole bunch of teenagers to Die Hard and have them like it as a movie. But if you get someone who walks in and like, oh, I don't like that because of X, Y, and Z, well, it's like, that's because it's the lens you're seeing from it now.
And I think, like we talked about it, Bonnie Bedelia's character, I think people of all genders can appreciate it on that level. I don't think you're going. Yes, there's the Boobs McGee that pops out in the beginning, but shy of that.
I'm gonna have to
yeah. There you go. Shy of that, you do have her in that movie, and you do have a likability for any gender.
It's
to
one
watch
of the
it.
few movies that really doesn't degrade women in any way.
And shy of this,
actually really impressive.
Shy of the cell phone issue, because nowadays everybody had a cell phone and everybody would have known immediately what was going on in that circumstance. Shy of that, it's fairly timeless. You could watch this for other than the phone thing, but again, halfway through the movie is like, it doesn't matter because we wanted the cops involved anyway. So like all you do is you move that part up, 10 more minutes in the movie and have everybody posting it on TikTok or whatever. and police go there anyway. So regardless, it happens.
I'm so worried now because you mentioning that makes me think that, oh God, somebody at some point is going to remake this movie.
No,
Oh,
don't. It's
Dipshit Johnson did Skyscraper.
But that's the thing is, so that's where we're going with this. You get to the end of this movie. We're still going to talk about the end of the movie real quick, but the gist of it is everything after this has become Die Hard on a plane, Die Hard on a mountain, Die Hard in another building, Die Hard on a bus, Die Hard. It's
Die Hard with Gremlins.
That's how you. The other directors have literally said this. Like, I've sold movies, I've talked about a movie, and the easiest way to do it is it's Die Hard Anna.
Yeah.
For 35 years, that's how big of an impression this has made on Hollywood. Not just dude bro guys that are rude to you about this stuff, but like a whole industry has been changed.
It's true.
Because of this format.
All right, I get it.
Yeah, and I'm not saying you have to like it. I'm just saying that's the impact it's crazy that one movie has done that.
I'm a little surprised this isn't getting more accolades for like being as groundbreaking as it is. Like, it's not like, on an AFI top 100. It's not any of those.
I think it was, but it was much lower. It was like 90.
Like the top 100 one.
Top 100.
It's in like probably the action
It's not
one.
in top 100 action. I'm sure
definitely.
it's in top 25 action. I would hope. Let's see.
Yeah.
She'll pull that up.
Top 25. That's upper echelon.
We're getting to the end, though. They had the confrontation on the roof. The FBI agents, the Johnsons, don't make it.
No.
Sadly, the Johnsons don't make it.
I forgot the Johnsons don't make it.
Yeah, the whole roof does get blown up.
Why are you sad? They're
they're not good guys. They're nice.
I know, but people dying is never fun.
True. But John gets all of them off the roof and saves them prior to Hans blowing up the building. And that's another great scene, is Hans and and Gennaro up at the vault and their little confrontation. And at the end, you're nothing but a common thief. And Rickman's response.
It's the first time he's insulted in the entire movie.
And he shows it. He actually gets angry.
Yeah.
AFI,
that's the thing that sets him up.
Thrills, number 39.
That's 39?
That's ridiculous.
You want to, what,
Casablanca's above that.
Thrills?
Thrills?
Thrills.
Casablanca's a fantastic movie, but come on.
The title of it is
100 Years, 100 Thrills.
100 Years, 100 Thrills. The 100 most thrilling American films.
That's not a real list.
It is off of the AFI 100 site.
Terminator's 85. Yeah.
Rosemary's Baby is higher than it.
They have a very loose definition of thrilling.
Yeah.
The Godfather is higher than it.
No. That's ridiculous.
That's a very loose definition. That's as bad as that variety list I sent you this morning.
Yeah, I know, that was bad.
That was a stupid list.
But how great is Rickman from that point? I mean, he's great all the way up to that point. But once he, barks at her, since I'm moving up to kidnapping, and he gets right in her face.
Be more polite.
Yeah. And she, for the first time, she then becomes quiet because she broke him because she's strong. She broke him. But then when he finally lets go of his anger, that's the first time she actually stops. It's great. That is a great confrontation scene between it, and another juicy part for the two of them. They get them together at the end.
My dad loves Bonnie Bedelia.
Yeah, she's great.
Is she a Chicagoan? Does she have Chicago ties?
Gorgeous. She is.
Well, yeah, I understand that.
Gorgeous. I just want to mention the fact that woman is just absolutely gorgeous, as well as being extremely talented. Heart
Like a Wheel. It's a good movie.
Okay,
I think she was nominated for that.
Okay.
Could be wrong, but Presumed Innocent also Harrison Ford's wife.
It leads to what could be a typically boring hero-villain confrontation at the end of the movie. And it's not. He realizes he's down to 2 bullets, does the tape thing on his back. One of my absolute favorite shots of the whole movie. Period. I'd love to make a shirt out of it at someday. When he turns that corner, and there's the only thing on is the emergency light behind him, full of blood and dirt. He's low slung the MP5 that he's got, and he turns the corner. Hans! He's so pissed. And there's only a couple seconds where you see him walk down that small slope with the emergency light behind him. Mm-hmm. One of my favorite shots in the whole movie.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's a beautifully shot movie. Mm-hmm. And when I was referring to the editing earlier, I know we're making jokes about Argyle and the police chief and whatnot, but from the moment that Carl sticks that gun in McClane's face, everything that happens from that point on, the editing in that movie is flawless, with the exception of the low-angle shot where you can see the squibs on the ground.
On the roof.
Floating on the roof, exploding under his feet. That's unfortunate. But everything, like the way that he's putting he's wrapping the hose around him, and Rickman pulls the antenna up, and just everything that happened, all that entire thing, the opening the door, and he shoots the guy through the door, and all that stuff. Everything in that whole section is so beautifully edited. When he wraps the chain around Carl's neck and then slides him down the thing, the way, again, the editing of that is perfection, is absolute perfection.
McTiernan said on the commentary that he called it European movement shooting. That's not an exact quote, but the way he said it. Editors and film companies at the time, all prior to this, he said, I don't know, I'm not a director, he said you would take a shot, you would get to the end of the shot, no movement, cut, go to the next shot, have it, you could move around a little bit, but it had to stop before you would go to the next cut. You wouldn't go from movement to movement. They hated it, editors hated it, studios didn't want you to do it, they would make you reshoot stuff, he hated it. But he said these European directors, like Paul Verhoeven and some other people in Europe were doing it, and McTiernan fell in love with it, and he started doing it on Die Hard so much so that the editor had to be fired. The editor was getting into arguments with him so much that he's like, we have to change. I think it's the editor. I have to get rid of you. He said the editor was fantastic, but he wouldn't let me do what I wanted to do, so I got rid of him. And he brought in a new editor that understood it, and so, like you said, he's on the building. He's going down. He's moving up the antenna on the detonator. There's this movement thing he called, where it would move from, instead of cutting from a face to another face, he would move from face to face. And instead of cutting it, he would do a lot of this movement. So that's why it feels more
motion.
There you go. It would feel like more actiony because it wasn't so static. And he goes, prior to that, no one would let me do it. And so he got him to let him do it on this movie. Again, according to him, this was maybe one of the first times an American audience, an American movie was filmed this way, because he finally got the ability to do it like that. I mean, and that's what you're saying, I'm assuming, right, Eric?
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, you cut to them at the oh yeah, go.
Oh no, I was just gonna add in a little bit of tidbit of trivia. Do you know Bonnie Bedelia's full name?
No.
Bonnie Bedelia. What?
Bonnie Babs Bedelia?
No. Bonnie Bedelia Culkin. She is aunt to all of the Culkin brothers.
What?
I think I knew that. I think I heard that before.
I didn't know that.
I had no idea until I just now was looking up her filmography. I was like, convenient.
Huh, I didn't know that.
Nepo babies.
Nepo babies.
All the rage.
Cut that out.
He gets down the ramp, got the gun, final confrontation. Could have just been him. He shoots the guy, everything's saved. But instead, they pull back. They do a call back to the yippee-ki-yay motherfucker, and he has to chastise this brash American. Always you, the cowboy, you know, the whole thing at the beginning. Well, now he's doing it again. What did you say before? You know, he's got to, she's broken him, so he's angry. He's been trying to kill this guy the whole movie, and he wouldn't die. Hard.
Because it's hard.
Because it's hard. And he just has to get it in. Like, you know, what did you say earlier? Like, I want to say it to you before I kill you or her. You know, like, you got to do it. And McTiernan made a comment. If you notice, which I've noticed before, but I guess I didn't take it the way he did, was John doesn't make a nod to her. He just starts laughing. He does say Holly, but regardless, she's part of the end of that movie. Without her moving, you could have done the whole, you know, only his head's exposed and John shoots him right in the head, and oh, what a great shot. She does the elbow at just the right time. As he screams Holly, she does the elbow and pushes him and moves him out of the way in order for John to have his whole body to shoot at. Mm-hmm. Like they knew. Like she knew what he was going to do.
Yeah.
Was there ever anything...
Because women are awesome.
You agree?
Yeah, we agree.
Was there ever... I wonder if, when you say that, I'm wondering if there was ever some... And it sounds like it's not stupid. Like there was some cut scene where she recognized him laughing stupidly was a signal for something, and like because you see.
How about she's just a smart woman?
Yes.
Because a lot of times movies want to do the foreshadowing. They like, oh, did you? This gun, and then the gun shows up at the end or whatever. Yeah, like,
I'm not saying it should be in there. I'm just asking if they did something that you don't approve of. I'm not saying I approve of it.
I'm saying it's unnecessary.
It is unnecessary.
And that's why they didn't do it.
Because there's a shot on her where she realizes that something is off. That he's plotting something. You know, why is he laughing? You know, so she must know. And then, you know, Rickman gets to deliver the line.
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker. In only the way Rickman could have. Like,
right.
It's so great.
Yeah.
You know, typical. He shoots him, boom, boom, too, and then does. I love the yippee-ki-yay. I know, so like you're saying, sometimes it seems a little ham-fisted or a little forced.
I don't think anyone said that.
Didn't you say it seemed some of his quips and his silliness was forced?
I said it was a little forced in delivery.
Okay. Did you like the yippee-ki-yay when he does it, and then when he does the thing with the gun at the end? Like the Western, like...
Yes.
Yeah?
It's good. Still a little forced. Yes.
I love it, and I love Rickman calling it back. I love that they bring it up. Because it makes
an entire franchise.
And it's like the Westerns were shoot 'em ups. And so it's kind of a nice... And Roy Rogers is not exactly Mr. Action Hero, right? Like, I mean, he was in Western movies, but it was more sing-alongs.
This time, John Wayne does not walk up in the sunset with Grace Kelly.
I am so happy that he did not say, "Oh, call me Clint," because I like Clint Eastwood. Like, no.
No.
That would be Back to the Future Part 3.
Right.
I
know. It's you do the thing. He falls out the window, so of course you have to jump it up. But the big legend, and I'm sure I don't know if you've ever heard this story, Morgan, but
I'm sure I have. I was going to bring it up if you didn't.
Rickman.
Yeah.
So he's hanging out the window. I love that Ellis's watch is the thing that's holding her up. Or holding Rickman on. He's basically tugging on the wristwatch. They let him go. And do you want to tell the story?
Sure. I assume we have the same story.
I would hope.
Which is basically that Rickman was terrified of doing this stunt. That he is the one falling, he is the one dropping, and he was positively terrified. And so he had told the stunt coordinator to give him like 5, give him a countdown of 5 before he pushed him off the building. And he goes, okay, 1, 2, and then he lets him go. So you actually see the actual look of actual Alan Rickman terror in his falling off the building.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
It's genius.
It is a dick move.
Yeah, yes, it's also a dick move.
It
Very
happens
much
a
a dick
lot.
move.
William Friedkin did that to Ellen Burstyn in The Exorcist. There's a shot where she is thrown across the room and she was rigged with a harness to pull her, and he didn't.
See,
Really,
that's a little different in my mind.
It is. It's
Because
actually
literally,
even
Rickman's
worse.
falling and he's going to fall into something comfortable. If she's
Right.
getting pulled somewhere,
She's
we
getting
got a
pulled
problem.
across a room into furniture, and
Yeah.
she pulled so hard that she had like back issues for like the rest of her life.
Yeah, I wonder if maybe there were some problems on that set.
She had permanent damage from that?
Yes,
Yeah.
of course.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like, and again, you see her expression.
It's
when you see her,
unsafe. It's so unsafe.
Which again, follow
because
up.
your body, like if you're prepared for something like that,
Sure.
your body responds differently.
Right.
Well, with
So, like,
luck, you
even
don't
with-
get hurt. I didn't know that she actually had, permanent damage.
Well, but here's the
Yeah.
thing. But like, if you're not going to give her the warning, your body's going to go into shock, and you're not going to be prepared for the
Yeah.
contact. Yeah, it's the dumbest thing, and it's something that's a constant conversation in theater, because you do these events, you do these performances day in day in day. It's not just a one-off situation where you really need to choreograph these things. But so many people on the creative side, because honestly, it's a sign of being unprofessional to not properly choreograph your violence. Because you end up with situations just like that. You end up putting people in unsafe situations, because if people don't know what's coming and they don't know what's about to happen to them, they can't prepare properly for that kind of impact. That's a lot of how you get situations like what happened on the Rust set of like, we just didn't quite, if you don't prepare properly for your violence, and I know people are always like, oh, it's more natural if they don't know it's coming. Like, no, it's more dangerous if they don't know it's coming.
Well, Friedkin was, he was kind of notorious for that kind of stuff. And like when you see that shot in The Exorcist that I'm talking about, when you see her reaction, because she's supposed to be crying that, Reagan's possessed and throwing her across the room and everything, like it's pain. It's nothing but pain in her face because of how she was handled. And there's also the other infamous scene in that movie where at the end of the movie, when the priest gets thrown down the steps and the real priest was there to give him the last rites, and he's supposed to cry when he does it.
Yeah.
He kept doing it and he couldn't get the line right. So Friedkin called him over and was like, you can't get the line right. And he just went, smacked him. I didn't expect it, just smacked him across the face, and he goes, now do the scene. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Again, those tears
well,
are real.
and like freaking Shelley Duvall.
Shining, the story, some of the stories about that have been a little exaggerated because Duvall has actually, again, it could be one of those situations where Duvall puts a positive spin on certain things, but there are things over time where Duvall has talked about how it wasn't as bad as some people have made it out to be, because some people suggest that she was like that was like the beginning of her downfall into like her mental illness kind of thing. They sort of extrapolated to that, but she had a career through the 1980s, and I'm sure that there were issues. Yeah, Kubrick was more just exhausting than like brutal in that.
Exhausting is brutal.
Can be, yes.
Yes.
Like if you see some of the behind the scenes footage, they're getting pages day of that are just like,
another example.
Here's a whole new scene, just go with it. Like, yeah.
Right. Very common for movies, good and bad.
And the good part here is that it was the stunt coordinator that did say it. Stunt coordinator told the guy holding him by a rope, he said out loud, on the count of 1, 2, 3, then go, like Lethal Weapon, 1, 2, 3, then go, and then turn around and went to the guy holding the rope. He said, drop him on 2, and that's what happened. Was he dropped him halfway through, and that, like, you're totally right. But yeah, he was 40 feet. And he fell into a giant airbag, a gigantic, massive airbag. So yeah,
there is no way he is going to be that's going to go wrong in a way that would hurt him in any way.
Theoretically, yes.
No, like unless there's a problem with the structure of the equipment,
right?
But as long as the equipment is sound, he's going to be fine.
So that's how you get that face, that great face, and then I hope that wasn't one of the. Yeah, hope that wasn't one of the hostages.
Christmas then.
Again, like I said, I call this
I
movie perfect.
I forgot that line. That's such a good line. I hope that wasn't one of the hostages.
Yeah. And McTiernan said, he's like, I didn't want to show the body hitting the ground. He's like, it was unnecessary. And that tells you, right? Even McTiernan knew it.
But it reminds me of Les Mis, which to this day I'm ticked. Do you remember that situation?
Which are the newer one, or
the newer one with Russell Crowe?
Yeah.
Where he's falling into water, and then you get his body cracking on rock, and you're like, no one asked for this.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
Nobody asked for this.
It's great enough, even if you have like an insatiable bloodlust for the Hans Gruber character. See, just following him all the way down, and then just hearing a thud, and then the reaction of the cops. That's all you need. I mean, that's perfectly good. Because his head does spiral this way, so you know he hit his head. So
the stunt coordinator in the commentary said he designed and built the Nakatomi symbol. So there's the one outside the front door in the movie that they walk past initially. It's a big giant metal version of the Nakatomi symbol. He had tried to get McTiernan to have Hans spiked on that. He wanted him spiked on the, and McTiernan didn't even want to show him hitting the ground at all. So McTiernan vetoed that.
And yet, 3 years later, Joel Silver does that on Ricochet.
Yeah, again,
look, Piers Lithgow and on that tower.
It's Silver, so I'm sure. I wonder if that stunt coordinator was like, I didn't get to do it on Die Hard. Let's see if I can do it on there.
But the trivia behind. I hope I don't screw this up, but Mary Ellen Trainor, who was Robert Zemeckis' wife, she's the
news reporter,
anchor woman, anchor woman in the movie.
Who's
Gail
in
Wallman.
Everything, yes.
Right. She in Ricochet, she plays the same character. She plays Gail Wallman in Ricochet.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that. Okay.
That explains it.
And the psychologist in Lethal Weapon.
And the psychologist in Lethal Weapon.
Yes.
Like I've always like
and
I said,
Mom and Goonies.
I joke repeatedly. I say it's a perfect movie, and everything. Obviously it's not perfect. There's lots of things that don't make it perfect. The only thing I say I don't really like about the movie, as much as I love this movie, and I think it's my absolute
favorite. Everyone else loves.
What is it?
It's when Goodenough comes back and Al Powell gets to shoot him. It's just now that when you talk about
unnecessary.
Yeah, once he hugs.
But then
they hug.
Able to make a joke about it and scream. And
well, no, that's not the joke. It's supposed to be like, like he is a good guy. He knows the right way to be a cop and everything, and he gets his.
He's a cop who's found his way to use his gun again.
Yeah, like it seems out of place. It seems gratuitous and weird and out of place. Them coming together and him like looking in the crowd with her to like find Al, and they have their nice little like, hey, you want to meet my wife? Oh, it's
You don't like that either, though.
No, that I like.
No, but you are just like, how did he know it was him?
I think he's looking.
He instantly knew it was Al. I'm like,
it's a little cheesy, but I like the fact that he's looking for him. Like he's walking with her in the crowd.
To see if I can figure out which one's Al.
It's very easy because he's the one standing right in the middle of the crowd that's separated, right there. Who else is it going to be?
And he's looking at him like.
Al would know how to find him. He would not know how to find Al.
They know.
They just know.
Guys know.
But that was, I think the second Goodenough.
That's the friendship dilemma.
That's
gay vibes off of.
Yeah,
Al
the 2 years that we didn't see McClane and Al together.
That's the only part I think is a little gratuitous and silly. They didn't need to do that. But the rest, it ends. The paper falling like snow. They get in the car. You're already hearing sleigh bells, which you've heard numerous times throughout the movie. They then go and put on The Weather Outside is Frightful, and they drive off to supposedly happier times.
The last line of the movie. If this is their idea of Christmas, I gotta be here for New Year's.
So what if we all thought
Christmas movie?
It was gonna be a New Year's, was gonna be the sequel. Turns out it was Christmas again.
Yeah.
It brought me. I'm not a huge classical music person, and unfortunately, Sergio isn't here to talk with us about this. But Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, which is a portion of it, is called Ode to Joy. It's on my playlist with all my other music because it's fantastic. It's something like, to me now, like Flight of the. I know I'm saying it wrong. Flight of the Valkyries, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's now forever entwined, and Sergio laughed when I said this the last time he was on the podcast. I think it was the last time he was on the podcast. Is I call it the Die Hard song. It's a joke. It's not meant to belittle it. It's the Die Hard song. If you play that music, most people will not call it the Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. They're gonna go, that's the song from Die Hard, or they'll say Ode to Joy.
Nobody. The majority of people are going to call it the Die Hard song. No.
I think if you played that song for people do you think a majority of people are going to call it Beethoven's Ninth Symphony?
I think they're going to go, oh, it's that one Beethoven song.
Oh,
You think they'd identify it as
Nope.
Beethoven?
It's Joy to the World.
How many
Everybody
think you
knows
knew who
that song.
Beethoven
Ode to
is?
Joy.
Okay, I'm going to put this out there. I would bet it's 15% would recognize it to be part of Die Hard. 40% would know it's Ode to Joy, and the other people would go, huh?
1540. I think we have a poll we have to do on the street.
Maybe
Really
I will. I'll have to do it. I think more people would maybe call it Ode to Joy.
Yeah.
But I don't think they would call it Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. Or know who conducted it or any of that stuff.
No.
I think people they might say the song from Die Hard.
It's Beethoven because it's Beethoven's most famous piece.
Just that part? Ode to Joy or the Ninth Symphony?
Ode to Joy. Except maybe his, what is it? Moonlight Sonata, but I still think you're probably going to deal with.
Well, Sergio found that infinitely amusing. He found it.
Again, people don't go Beethoven.
Yeah.
I do, because it was on the Saturday Night Fever soundtrack as a disco song.
That's true.
This is how we know music in the modern age.
It is.
Anyway.
Yeah.
But again, that's another thing McTiernan quoted. He said he wanted to bring joy, and one of the things he thought of was Ode to Joy, and so he asked the music guy, who I don't know off the top of my head, you probably do, Childress.
Guy.
Might be, I don't think it's Silvestri.
Wait, you have the score?
Yeah.
Michael Kamen.
There you go. He asked him to put that song in there and multiple times, and he ended up doing it, I think, a little bit more than even McTiernan realized he was gonna, and he sprinkles Ode to Joy throughout it. Gruber's whistling it at one point. The hacker guys, the hacker guy is on the elevator. He's whistling it, I think. The vault is when they finally climaxes in that part where they actually play Ode to Joy, the full thing, or a majority of it.
There's a little bit of it when he sees the tape, and right before Argyle rams the ambulance, is a little bit of yeah.
And the hacker guy, when he's turning off the elevators, is humming it.
R.I.P. to him too, by the way.
Hacker guy? He just passed away, didn't he? Right?
Just passed away.
Oh, I love him.
Within the last month, I think.
Yeah.
He's one of my favorites.
Also in Top Gun.
He's
I love him in this movie. If I had to pick a favorite character, it's him.
Yeah, the hacker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't like the fact that he's taken out by Argyle with one measly little punch. He is kind of a wimp.
I do. I love the part where he's just like, you know what you need to do? He's like, I know you didn't bring me for my charming personality.
It's a good line. See? It's a good. It's not.
It's great. He's got some good stuff.
How about some props for Al Leong taking the candy bar though?
Yes.
Al Leong, they go down to shoot the SWAT guys, and they're preparing to shoot them, and he stops there, and they have a moment.
Oh yes!
So
I literally marked that because at that moment I was like, "Oh man, all that candy looks really good," and then he takes it. I was like, "Yeah."
Great. It's just a great throwaway moment. It's because again, humans, a human, even a bad person, would take. Why not steal the can? We're here to steal 600 million. What's a Nestle Crunch bar?
It's not goofy in a Naked Gun way. It's a very serious action with minor little ticks of influences of humor.
Yeah, but
that are human, like you said.
The scale between Die Hard comedy and Naked Gun is far.
Well, yeah.
Naked Gun is like Naked Gun is next to Police Academy. Like, it's out there.
But you can also tell that there are action movies or even dramas that do force comedy. You can feel when they're forcing comedy into an audience, towards an audience. And Die Hard, it just feels like something someone would do, and you react to it or you don't. And it's not, it's just a stupid, cute little thing that a bad person does. He steals Nestle Crunch bar.
I think the reason I like some of my favorite Marvel movies now are almost all the Russo's movies. The Winter Soldier, both the ending Avengers movies, even Civil War. When you watch those movies, they came from a comedy background and ended up doing action. And little things feel, I think, similar. You get the grand action parts, but then you get like Rocket with the I'm getting that arm. That that kind of the little like the hair. Like it's
nothing beats Tiny Groot with the button.
Yeah.
Tiny Groot with the button is the best.
Well, that's a gun one,
ever.
but still, yeah, But again, it's in the same vein. And it feels a little like that. You get the seriousness of something like Thanos, My aunt just said, based on the violence, bloodshed, general chaos, I still maintain it cannot be a Christmas movie. That'll be the last thing really quick we'll hit, and then we'll go.
But bloodshed, chaos. I mean, look at Christmas Carol. Look at the literal, starving children feeding off of people.
It's a Wonderful Life.
No one's being shot at, though.
Right, it's a Wonderful Life. A lot of people die in that.
Yeah.
Well, what I said...
People get beaten in that. People get shook in that. Oh, my God.
Well, people don't think Gremlins is a Christmas movie either. People don't think Lethal Weapon is a Christmas movie. I made a joke. I think it was last year or the year before.
The
I said
Black movie. It's a Christmas movie.
I said if it's not
Predator's a Christmas movie.
Kiss Kiss Bang Bang's a Christmas movie.
There you go.
Kiss Kiss Bang Bang is a Christmas movie.
But I said if it only has to be about a Christmas or be Scrooge or or Santa, right? If that's the only thing that makes it a Christmas movie. I said, wouldn't it? It's a Wonderful Life be like about seasonal affective disorder? It's not about Christmas. Like I was making a joke.
Yeah, It's a Wonderful Life has nothing to do with Christmas whatsoever.
Miracle on 34th Street.
Well,
no.
That's different.
Yeah, it's a Wonderful Life.
There's a Christmas tree in It's a Wonderful Life. It's set during Christmas.
Yeah.
When?
At the end of the movie, the
Angels gets his wings,
at that
right?
End of the movie.
Yeah.
All of Die Hard is set during Christmas.
But people say that, right? That's the angels get when the bell rings. The angel gets his wings.
The movie ends at Christmas. The whole uplifting end of that movie is Christmas.
And
the Christmas movie.
Isn't he because of the money issue and him why did he take the thing? And he's the guy basically a stand-in for Scrooge and kind of a thing. Isn't it sort of? Yeah. So.
Are you talking about It's a Wonderful Life still? Is that what
yeah.
Okay.
So it's no, and so that's I made the joke. I said if that's all it took, then that movie is all about that, not Christmas. That was because I understand it's not about Santa. So that's the joke. And again, my aunt and I play. That's the thing is I'm not weird like the people you're talking about, where it's like this is my favorite movie and it's a Christmas movie.
Say I'm not weird like the people you're talking about.
Again, two very vague things. I don't know the people you're talking about,
you're trying to convince
and I am a little weird myself. Yeah, so it's a playful thing with her and I. I understand it's not your traditional Christmas movie, and we joke, but it is, and it's that it just has become that for me. I watch other Christmas movies, Christmas Vacation, and other more sentimental Christmas movies, and the stop motion animation stuff from the 70s, the Raskin or whatever those were. I watch all that stuff, but this is top tier action movie, top tier movie and now it's also top tier Christmas.
It's top tier Christmas. It is.
There's
no argument here.
I don't think I've ever asked you, Childress, straight to your face. Where would you place this purely action? Not Christmas, not movie.
Purely action?
Action.
I think we've had this discussion before. I mean, if you just say boom, like top 3 action movies of all time, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Die Hard, Fury Road.
Okay.
Like that would be my Insta 3.
You're kicked out of our podcast.
Why would you do that?
Wait, what did you say?
She's kicking me out of the podcast for those.
Why would I do that, Eric? You know why I do that. What did you not say?
Aliens. I didn't say aliens. Well, because I always classify that as a science fiction or a horror movie. Yes, I know it's
an action film.
It's a science fiction action film. Elements. It could be a horror movie.
Now we're parsing.
It's
words.
not a horror movie, but thanks for playing.
But Aliens is in my top 10 of all time. Do I get any credit for that? Any?
Depends where's Die Hard in it.
Sigourney Weaver is my crush of the 1980s. Do I get
okay, fine.
All right, thank you.
These are good.
So Morgan, now that although you haven't did a full rewatch,
Yes.
I understand this is probably not your top 5, but would this be in at least your top 10 of all-time action movies? Action, not movies.
I really have to analyze it.
Really? There's that much room in your top 10 of what you like already that this does.
Of action movies?
Not judging. I'm asking. It's that packed.
It's not necessarily about. Oh well, I've got my set list.
Right.
Like, it's not that. It's more that like I can tell you exactly what my top 3, 4 are.
Okay.
But after that, I start going. Well, I don't know. Let me think about it.
Yeah.
Because then it really does come down to some semantics. We got to think about the time period. We got to think about how important it was to the world.
See, this is why you should both be on Letterboxd, because you can work these things out.
Yeah, that's exactly what I want to do with my life, is actually figure this out.
I'm out of school. I don't want homework.
Out of school.
Morgan just completely shoving my life back in my face.
I'm sorry.
Like,
some of us have jobs, Eric.
Wow.
She did that again.
Wow.
She likes to throw that out there.
Yeah.
I know. I don't know.
Well, I'm glad you guys could be here.
Thanks for having us.
Of course. This has been fun. Saturday night I will be watching, or Saturday day or night, I'll be watching Die Hard again for the 80 billionth time and enjoying every minute of it.
Mm-hmm.
You should live text Morgan through that too.
I will.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I will. And
I'll send a Farscape text while he's doing
that. Although you've only done a partial rewatch, I understand you got to take whatever amount of time you need.
A lot of things into consideration.
I like a
lot of action films.
So maybe next year, you don't even need to do it for Christmas. Maybe just in December, make it festive. Promise me you'll rewatch it in full.
And then rate it depending on the other action.
You don't need to think about it that hard. Just tell me if it's somewhere in the top 10.
Think about it hard.
You don't need to do it now. You got a whole year.
I know.
No homework.
I could see it maybe getting like 8 or 9 or 10, but it's not going to be top 5.
That's all I can ask for.
Okay.
I have no dog in this fight. Disney owns it now.
You have
just
one
asked
dog
me
in
that
this
question twice. I think you've
Yeah.
got a good amount of a dog.
You got a pretty big dog in this
I'm just
fight.
curious, but I don't own the movie or anything, so it's not like I really get anything out of it if you're watching it for the billionth time. So, especially now with Disney. Anyway, thank you. Merry Christmas. I know I'll talk to you more, but Merry Christmas. And if anybody's watching this, go watch Die Hard. It's awesome. Thank you again. See you soon. Later.